We'd like to call this meeting in order at 2:03 p.m. Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Kaplan. Here. Councilmember Maple.
I'm here.
Councilmember Jennings.
Here.
Councilmember Vang.
Here.
I expect Councilmember Guerra, Councilmember Dickinson, Councilmember Fleckenbaum, and Mayor McCarty shortly. Vice Mayor Talamantes.
Let's do it. Okay.
We have a quorum.
Please rise, if you're able. Please rise for the opening acknowledgments in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, Patwin Wintun peoples, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's history, contributions, and lives. Thank you. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Attorney, is there any report out from closed session? Okay. And now members sign up to speak on the consent calendar. Councilmember Bang.
I'd like to comment on item number 8. I'll be voting no on item 8, but would like to comment on it. Thank you.
Item 8, comment, and then a no vote. Councilmember Maple.
Questions on item 8, please.
Item 8. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The consent calendar is heavy, so please forgive me. I have a question on item 7, comment on item 8, 11, 31, 36, and 37.
37. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay. Councilmember Dickinson.
Thank you. I have a comment on 13 and 30, a question, one question or two on 36.
Question on 36. Okay. And then I have comments on item 12 and item 37. First, we'll do public comment.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have 8 speakers for the consent calendar. And I do have one read to the record. Item number 13 will be withdrawn and will come back after the council recess. The first speaker is Lambert on item 1. Rhonda Rios Kravitz, Jerry Brinsfield, Marcelina, Ed Garrick, and Francis Lou Foe on item 8.
First of all, I want to send a shout out to the millennials who are tremendous supporters of ours. I was getting in from Father's Day and they told me I must come down here. Number one, this is an example of why Minty Cuppy should be the highest paid at City Hall. First of all, it says recognizing the need for and granting a council member an extended absence. It was me who said that we were concerned, the millennials were concerned about Mr. Fleckenbaum being late. He's late today, no matter what the reason is. He's in and out. But the good thing about this from Minty Cuppy, and I have the report right here, I'm not going by my memory, I have a copy of it. It states that you have to have permission to have all of these absences. He should be reprimanded for that. District 4 receives a lot of money on the consent calendar. If you look at it today, they received 8 funding sources on the consent calendar. He's not even here to vote on it. Now, to City Councilwoman Maple, congratulations on your pregnancy. I'm glad this is for you. You've already won your seat, so you should have the whole summer to concentrate on being healthy. And I was the one who said you were the only one who should be allowed to go in and out of the rostrum because of your pregnancy. Otherwise, you should be on this rostrum. You're being paid, so you should be here. And I bet you as a millennial, she can operate from home, unlike a lot of people who were on the rostrum who were baby boomers in the last round that could not. So congratulations, And what a wonderful job by Minty Cubby. This is outstanding to let us get clarity.
Rhonda Rios Kravitz.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I urge you to vote no on item number 8, which would provide funding for the Sacramento Police Department's participation in the Central California Intelligence Center, or CCIC. I am deeply concerned that local policing resources and data may be accessed or utilized by ICE and other federal law enforcement agencies in ways that undermine both California's sanctuary law and the city's own commitment to immigrant communities. California's sanctuary law, SB 54, prohibits local law enforcement resources from being used for immigration enforcement. Earlier this year, Sacramento's immigration platform reaffirmed the city data should not be used or shared to determine, trace, or investigate a person's citizenship or immigration status. These concerns are not hypothetical. In March 2026, the California State Auditor opened an audit of California fusion centers after lawmakers raised concerns that these centers may be facilitating violations of SB 54 and threatening the privacy and civil liberties of California residents. Independent investigators have documented fusion centers' access to highly sensitive information, including DMV records, automated license plate reader data, social media monitoring, cell phone location information, and other surveillance technologies. Once information enters these systems, community members have little ability to know how it is being used, who has access to it, or whether it is being shared with federal agencies. The Sacramento Police Department's participation in a fusion center raises serious questions about transparency, accountability, immigrant protections, and constitutional rights. Given the ongoing state audit, there is no reason for this council to approve additional funding before the public has answers. I respectfully ask that you postpone or reject this item until the state auditor's findings are released. I also urge the city to conduct a comprehensive review.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Jerry Brinsfield.
Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Brinsfield. I oppose item number 8 and ask that you all also oppose 8. Thank you.
Next speaker is Marcelina. Following Marcelina is Ed Garrick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marcelina. I'm a volunteer organizer with the Sacramento Immigration Committee. And I'm pretty new to the city council stuff. This is the first time I'm here without a speech written, but I'm here on kind of like last minute notice, 2 p.m., middle of the day. And as I'm getting to know these city council rules, I'm realizing that they serve you a lot more than they serve the everyday people like me. And I am involved with advocacy around getting ICE collaboration out of city resources and SAC PD. And I'm told, you know, by Karina Talamontes that that's the law already and it doesn't happen. And here we are on a consent calendar about to vote on a contract that's involved with ICE. And I'm just like, dang, like, do you think we're stupid? And so I'm offended. And so I hope you vote no on 8. Thanks.
Ed Jarek, then Francis Lou Fo.
Hi, my name is Edgardo. I'm a student at Sac State and a member of Sacramento DSA. My answer to what I urge you to vote on item number 8 is absolute no. We cannot accept collaboration with ICE, and we cannot accept these fusion centers, which are a means of enabling surveillance, and it is not a reasonable, it's not a responsible vision for our city to be condoning, collaborating, and funding these data centers. I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Next speaker is Francis Liu, then Ella Roberts.
Hi, Francis Liu, PhD, manager at California Department of Social Services, volunteer organizer at Decarcerate Sacramento. There is little I can say about fusion centers that hasn't already been said by dozens of community members who have submitted online comments or that isn't already discussed in State Senator Sabrina Cervantes' letter that led to the current state audit of California fusion centers. Giving SAC PD $800,000 to staff positions in this fusion center is egregious, regardless of where the money comes from, federal or local. We do not support expanding the federal government's ability to surveil Sacramento's residents and support ICE's human trafficking of our immigrant neighbors. We need to dismantle our local surveillance infrastructure. The only way for us to protect our data is to not generate it or share it in the first place. I want to talk about why and how this item was placed on today's consent calendar. Ignorance is not an excuse. We've been here since last November expressing our concerns about SACPD, its history of direct data sharing with ICE, its use of surveillance technology and how its data is being shared, and its participation in joint federal task forces. The blanket response we've received is SACPD is in compliance with SB 54 and is not sharing data for immigration enforcement. There's no evidence or elaboration, and our concerns have never been addressed or responded to directly. My question is, where do the lies start? Either you are willingly lying to us or you continue to blindly accept the lies that SACPD tells you. And this is not just about SACPD handing data directly to ICE, which they've been doing, and they were doing until 2024. This is about their continued expansion of surveillance and partnerships with this fascist federal government, which you're enabling by, when you're enabling them by quietly putting this on the consent calendar outside the public eye. So our SAC mayor and city manager who set the agenda are complicit. Many of you have struck a deal with police. You don't call them out and they'll protect your positions of power, and you take donations from them to keep you elected. But the general public sees this, and we don't trust SACPD, or we don't trust you to keep you safe. And if you continue to blindly amplify their lies, increase their funding, and enable harms they are committing in our community, you are complicit as well. We will be here to call you out and make sure the public doesn't trust you either. Do better.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is L.R. Roberts on item 8, then Dr. Sheila O'Halloran on item 9.
I'm Ella Roberts. I live in District 5. My husband and I helped get the sanctuary ordinance passed to begin with in the 80s, so you can imagine how I feel about this. I'm also the one who does most of the legal observing at the ICE building and have been working with the people there who have been the victims of violence, where somebody ended up in the hospital not long ago, and surveillance by the police, watched the police escort the ICE agents out. We're not supposed to be spending any money on this. We're not supposed to be cooperating on them. We certainly shouldn't be sharing information with them. I do a lot of work in the disability community. I'm in a lot of groups that work on disability rights. I'm trying to get people with mental problems to get help. They're worried that this is going to be shared with the feds. And we've already got a president who's sort of implying that he's going to get a list of autistic people. This is concerning. So definitely no on this one. We are trying to keep track of how much money you've spent on this. The other thing is, I don't want to live in a world where I don't feel people are safe. My generation listened to our parents talk about the Nazis picking people up. Every time I see somebody and I think, oh, they're a more recent immigrant than my family was, I think, are they going to be safe? Why are we living like this? We shouldn't be living like this. We should have listened to our parents and our grandparents who killed Nazis. We shouldn't be acting like the Nazi regime.
Next speaker is Dr. Sheila O'Halloran on item 9, then Annette Emery on item 12, and Annabelle Gonzalez on item 37.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to present today. I'm asking you to consider on item no, either a no or at the very least postpone this very important decision, which could be very expensive with recurring costs for many years. Here's my reasoning. I was the founder and managing partner of Accurate Ergonomics. We've been providing very successful ergonomics, injury, and illness prevention training programs to first responders, cities, and municipalities for over 30 years. We have a tremendous record of success in hundreds of different references. So I'm the widow of a firefighter. My husband passed away a year and a half ago due to injuries sustained as a firefighter. So there's no one more passionate about me for this topic. It's why I'm here today. What we know in our business after 30 years of helping companies not only reduce but go year after year without having injuries, it's all about prevention. 99% of injuries are preventable. I've served as a chiropractor for 15 years, but mostly the last 20 years I was honored to be the president of the ASSP, a national safety organization, certified ergonomist. Our service model is completely different than the PT concept you're actually thinking about now, and a very expensive expenditure, in that our system is sustainable in-house. What we know is firefighters are very knowledgeable and very capable of doing this themselves with the right system in place. This program could be and should be sustainable in-house by your own firefighters, which could be sustainable for years to come. You don't need to pay an outside agency or organization or anyone else for that matter. The information, firefighters are taught how to look out for themselves, how to look out for each other. They can bring this information home to their own.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Annette Emery on item 12.
Hello, I'm Annette Emery, and I live on Fairweather Drive, which backs up to Ninos Parkway, so I'm here to talk about item 12. And first, I do want to say thank you for finally cleaning up city property that backed up to our backyards, make it, for some people, they could not leave their back gates to go to Ninos Parkway. There was so many berry bushes, one person's fence fell down when they were removed because they were there that long. And as a homeowner, I can tell you, we could not remove the cement chunks and the big things, so I appreciate that. However, I do have some questions here on item 12, which is Ninos Parkway. There are encroachments that people have actually built solid fences onto city property, but there's other ones that are maintaining it, and basically, I think, really helping with stopping wildfires. A couple things I noticed here. The June 5th, 2025 memo talks about a permit fee of $25 annually, which I thought had been dropped. So I think that needs to be clarified for the neighbors. And the other one is where it says here, landowners who basically refuse to do not sign on to this agreement will be asked to make improvements or will be contacted by the city regarding removal of all the work they've done. I was told this was optional. That does not sound optional. So I just would really like to have some more talking to the neighbors about exactly, because we do want to be good stewards of the parkway. That's 100%. I've not talked to a neighbor yet that doesn't believe in that. But we just really want a little clearer. Is it a $25 annual fee? What about that mini park put in by neighbors and paid for by neighbors that is really used by the community? Are you going to tell them, remove it if you don't sign this? So just a couple of questions there. Thank you so much, and I do appreciate the cleanup that's been going on.
Our final speaker on the consent calendar is Annabelle Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. In March, I drove up to Roseville Road, a few hundred feet from the tiny homes. An older man, white hair, white beard, was bent into a trash can digging for 30 minutes. His pants slipped down, exposed to the entire street. Steps from a shelter we spent millions on. So I came here to ask one simple question. Where is the money going? My name is Annabelle Gonzalez. I am a 12-year homeowner and a 10-year childcare business owner. I'm here on item 37. This is a management problem, and DCR is at the center of it. The Department of Community Response was created under Meyer Steinberg in 2022. Its director is paid 6 figures, more than the elected council members who oversee him. And what do we pay this department to do? Clean up, storage of people's belongings, a phone line, and now Uber rides? Everything except the one thing that matters, telling us if any of it gets a person off the street. The city auditor just found $63 million spent on shelters in 2 years, with no strong link between the money and anybody getting housed. Now you're asked for another $600,000. $558,000 of it is a phone line. $42,000 is overhead, no public breakdown, no description in the staff notes, and $200,000 of it is Measure U, our local money. And at last week's budget meeting, the director told this body, as the state's money shrinks, our need for Measure U grows. So more comes out of our pockets, and nobody shows the public the full number. Count people when they come in, count them when they leave. Until then, not one more dollar. Thank you.
So Mayor, that concludes our public comments on the consent calendar. I do have quite a few council comments and questions.
Okay.
Let's go to Kaplan on item 7.
Thank you, Mayor. Briefly, I just want to bring up Captain Hansen to ask a quick question on the gang violence suppression grant. So as I was doing my homework and I see that the grant is going to be used for only one SAC PD officer, God bless our system of research, because I found reports from 1990 of getting this grant and how we used it for a community service officer, a clerk, a student trainee, as well as SAC PD, and it required a match. Is the match still required for the grant today?
There is no match required anymore, ma'am.
And then, okay, go ahead, sorry.
I didn't say anything
Oh,
else.
sorry. And then I noticed with our former chief, who was a captain at that time in '07, there was a partnership between SAC PD, SAC County DA, SAC County Probation, which when we look at gang violence suppression, that really looks like the model. Truly, honestly, we should be following. And then, of course, I see the grant money that we're getting today is basically the same amount we got in '07. How are we using this? I see you just put one SAC PD officer, but for me, what's kind of missing is how is this actually addressing gang violence? What is this in the implementation?
Yeah, as the funding is just covering that one FTE, we've done a lot of other stuff over the last 15 to 20 years to try to be more holistic. So including talking about probation, we try to work with them regularly. We continue the ongoing communication. We bring them into our fold more often. Back then, we didn't have the CBOs lined up the way we do now with our BSAC, with our VIDs, and with our GPIT funding. And then with Sac City Unified, in fact, right now, we have one of our staff with Ray Lozada going through that, but we're also building the bonds with Natomas Unified and Twin Rivers to utilize the school stuff. But in addition to that, one of the aspects of it under the penal code is to work on identifying the most prolific offenders that are dangerous to our community, finding ways to engage the community and prosecution to try and take them out of the mix or to address it and deter the violence. We actually have a bi-weekly meeting with many stakeholders, including the district attorney's office and a bunch of our detectives and our street level officers, to try and identify those patterns, trends, and individuals to proactively try to work to keep them from furthering their criminal activity. And then to your first part, yes, the funding level hasn't changed. Unfortunately, as you know, labor costs have gone up over that time period.
And I just wanted to bring you up and give that extra context. So I think maybe in the future, adding some of that in to the report, because I think when we just say we're funding one officer, but not showing how we're using that money to actually address in the partnerships that already exist within SAC PD, I think it gets missed on the transparency that I think is really important that we show, hey, we're still partnering with probation and the DA's office and how we're going about this, because really having a violence prevention plan, especially gang violence, and showing it so that the public can just pick up this report and read it would be helpful. So, but thank you for the added extra context. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you.
So Councilmember Kaplan, do you want to proceed with item 8?
Sure. Probably we should call up our lieutenant, Mr. Putman, who drafted this, because I know I'm not the only one that's going to have questions.
If you got Councilmember Maple and Councilmember Bang with questions.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Brent Kaniuki. I have our Metro Division, and I'm up here with Dave Putman, who is our Urban Area Security Initiative Director, so he'll be able to answer more questions on the subaward that we give to the Fusion Center.
Hello.
Hello. So I'm sure I'm not the only one, but as was brought up, we know SB 54 does, state law does not allow sharing of information. How can we assure the public? Because the public says, okay, state law says this, but you're still doing that. What protections do we have in place or anything that we can assure the public?
So this item doesn't address the state laws. SB 54 does not address the city policies, the way that Sacramento interacts with the Fusion Center here in Sacramento or across the state. This is merely a pass-through funding item, which the city of Sacramento and the UWASI has accepted the funds, and we're then required by the contracts to pass through certain amounts of those funds to other agencies in our statistical operating area.
So there's no possibility of sharing, is that what I'm hearing, personal identifiable information with the federal government?
So the Sacramento Police Department would only provide the Fusion Center with information within state law and city policy. We would not be providing any kind of information with civil immigration. And the Sheriff's Department has similar laws and policies as well.
Okay. I don't know if anybody can answer this, but when I looked at the contract and UASI, it requires compliance with federal statute 8 USC 1373 and 1644, which requires that we certify compliance with it, which that section specifically says it prohibits state and local governments from restricting communication with the Department of Homeland Security regarding an individual's citizenship or immigration status. How do we balance that that incongruency between state law and then we're actually signing that we're complying with this section?
So the funding itself, the way that we, the city of Sacramento, obtains the funds is through Cal OES. So there's an application, there's a pre-application and an application process. During that process, we have project justifications to which we describe in totality the projects themselves, what the money will be used on, and how that will support preparedness training for terrorism and hazard response. So each one of those things is approved by Cal OES, is vetted to comply with SB 54 as well as all other state laws.
So walk me through a scenario. Let's say DHS or federal government says, Sacramento, I need this information. And because you signed this, you can't tell us no. Do you then go to Office of Emergency Services or the Attorney General because state law prevents you? Walk me through that.
I think this is a long answer, but I think it's important to state that the Sacramento Regional Homeland Security Unit, the UWASI, Urban Area Security Initiative team, is a grant management team. It's myself and two professional staff members. We manage the grant, we manage the money, and oftentimes manage the projects that are conducted in our statistical area. That is Yolo County, Sacramento County, Placer County, and Placer, Yolo, Sacramento, and El Dorado, sorry. So our unit does not dictate to any of those municipalities how they interact with the federal government. So the only thing that the UWASI group follows is the policies of the Sacramento Police Department and the state laws.
Thank you. Those are my questions at this time.
We go now to Councilmember Vang.
Thank you. No questions to PD. I just wanted to state why I'm going to be voting no, and maybe hopefully I can also answer Councilwoman Kaplan's question. So I've been having ongoing conversations with community members regarding SAC PD's participation in federal task force, which I know that we do participate in federal task force. And, you know, I do think it's important for us to pause and reevaluate these partnerships, whether that's joint task force, whether that's being an agency that is a pass-through for other enforcement agency, because in some ways we could be enabling that data sharing. And so for me, I know that this item in particular, and so I understood what the officer was saying, because because this is in particular just us saying yes, that we are authorizing as an acting agency to pass these federal dollars through to the Sheriff's Department. And this is where I have an issue. The item is seeking authorization of federal grant funds to pass through the City of Sacramento to the County Sheriff's Office. That's going to be staffing the Central California Intelligence Center and Fusion Center. And their job is to carry out the provision of law enforcement services. And if you read our staff report, the funds actually support projects of the Fusion Center that includes intelligence and information sharing, and I'm just reading the staff's report, combating domestic violent extremists, which I know that a few of my colleagues care deeply about that, and also enhancing election security. I think my concern is that, yes, these are dollars passing through the City of Sacramento, but once that data is in that Fusion Center, just like you said, Councilwoman Kaplan, we don't really have control over that as a city, but the federal government does have access to it if we're collaborating. I believe that they do have access to that. And another component of the project is actually, of these dollars, is enhancing, this is what it says, enhancing election security. And for me, at a time when our election faced multiple threats, I'm concerned about how this data could be actually used under the guise of federal national security priorities. And so I just wanted to share that. Earlier this year, State Senator Sabrina Cervantes also requested an audit earlier this year because she noted that the fusion centers, and I believe there's 80 of them throughout the state of California, have actually undermined state law that prohibits cooperation with the federal law enforcement. And she requested for an audit earlier this year. And just knowing that information, as an elected official in the city of Sacramento, this item is us approving the dollars to go through us, and just knowing the information that I do have, I can't support this item at the time, and so I wanted to share that on record.
Councilmember Maple?
Thank you. So I want to appreciate you for answering some of my questions over email, but I'm going to actually ask them here because I think it's important for the public to know some of this information too. And so the first question that I had was what information is shared with the CCIC and the Fusion Center by PD? So what types of information are we sharing with them?
We share information. The Sacramento Police Department shares information with the CSIC on about violent crime, gangs, critical infrastructure, public safety threats, terrorism, and cybersecurity.
Okay. Those are the broad categories. And then which agencies or departments, and those are federal agencies, state agencies, and others, is it shared with?
So there's a whole host of federal agencies that they're shared with. Some of the information that is publicly available from CSIC states that they, I can give you, would you like me to go through the list? Okay.
Thank you.
So a number of the intelligence community that they regularly communicate with is the CIA, the NSA, NRO, the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, the Air Force and the Space Force, the Office of Intelligence and Counterintelligence, the Officer of Intelligence and Analysis, and DHS, under the DHS umbrella, the U.S. Coast Guard Intelligence, FBI, Office of National Security through the DEA, the Bureau of Intelligence and Research, Office of Intelligence and Analysis, also the FBI.
Okay, thank you. And then, I heard you say DHS, so that would also include ICE and Border Patrol, or no?
Yes. Yes, it would.
Yes, okay. And then the last thing I had on there was, it's mentioned in the staff report that there are also private sector partners, or I believe it's called. Do we know which companies or private sector entities that this information is also shared with?
So the California Central Information Center, the CSIC, the Fusion Center, covers 34 counties throughout the state of California. It's one of 8 fusion centers in the state. I do not have a total list for you as to which companies or agencies, but generally speaking, those public sector people in the public sector, cybersecurity, event coordinators, faith-based communities, any convention centers, things like that. That's pretty broad. Yes, very broad.
Okay.
Yes. And private business owners as well.
Great. Okay, so thank you. Those are my main questions. And, I share some of Councilmember Bang's concerns, but also I've asked, I think now 3 times from this dais over the last several months for information regarding data sharing with the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and I've never received any information back yet on that. So that's something I also have questions about and want to understand the city's role, generally speaking, in these types of partnerships that we have. And I understand that this is a grant and this is passed through. So my request will be just that this is a separate vote on the consent calendar. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor Talamantes?
So I think, well, Councilmember Kaplan, Bang, and Maple just asked about the data sharing and protections that we have, like how we communicate with the county, how we communicate with the state, federal agencies. Do you have a plan on how to create these guardrails? Can we work with the city manager and create an expedited timeline to be able to make this happen?
Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, well, we're talking about like being a pass-through for federal dollars, and on here it lists some of the things that we're going to fund is critical infrastructure protection, and domestic violent extremism and election security. I mean, these are really important matters. So, but data sharing and making sure that we're not handing over information and creating guardrails around that, like Councilmember Maple has requested, is so important. So what is our plan to create these guardrails?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, you guys or city manager.
So the, I guess the best way for me to answer the question is I think there's 2 parts to it. Cal OES, DHS, Cal OES, both individually conduct audits of UWASI and CSIC. They conduct their own internal audits of us and of them as well. They regularly have findings of those issues, and then we're required to come up with a remedy. That's future looking, right? That would be something that looks back historically. However, as far as how will the UWASI develop plans to create guardrails around information sharing, that would be outside of the realm of the UWASI itself and would be, I think, up to each individual municipality. Because we're talking about 34 different counties and for the CSIC and just 4 different counties for the UWASI.
Okay, thank you.
Tim Guerra?
Yeah, thank you very much. First, clearly, funding for domestic violence and human trafficking are resources we desperately need. We need, and in many of those cases, the information that we collect and the ability to address those issues allow many immigrants who are eligible for a U visa to get adjustment of status. And I think that's an important thing. So I don't take this question here lightly and concerning wise, because we need these resources. But I think there's still a lot of questions about, where our data sharing is, particularly if there's any other third-party agency involved. And that I think is a clear hesitation. And even if our role is a pass-through, we should have a response to how we're managing that privacy. I mean, and even if Cal OES is involved in this, I'd like to see some clarity from Cal OES how they're complying with SB 54. So I think those questions before this item moves forward from this council need to be answered with clarity. And rather than just the generalities that are in the staff report, I think that there's got to be more clarity. We don't want to leave money on the table for things that we need now. I mean, there's no question we need the resources to address, Lieutenant Kanayuki, you and I worked on a lot of human trafficking issues on Stockton Boulevard. We need those resources, but I think the clarity on where the data sharing is has to occur. So, before my concern, Mayor, is if this is going to move, if this was to move forward, those issues, those questions must be answered.
Okay. We have other items, members, to ask questions on?
I do have other items.
Okay, we'll go to those.
Perfect. Councilmember Kaplan on item 11.
Thank you. Sometimes we just want to look at, this is authorizing our insurance broker to renew city contracts for insurance fiscal year. I just want to point out, Our insurance is going up, so when we say, where did the costs go, or why do we have to cut, and what's our budget impact? Excess liability is going up 24% for 1 year. Workers' compensation is going up 15% 1 year. A good hooray is our property insurance is actually going down 10%. The cost for fine arts insurance is going down 2%. Aircraft insurance is going up 5%. And other insurance, which includes pollution, crime, and our airport, is going up 40%. In total, it means our insurance in 1 year for coverage is going up 14%, which is a $3.1 million increase, which again, when you think about it, another reason why we're starting off next fiscal year in a budget deficit. While we just approved a balanced budget, that's an additional $3.132 million we were not accounting for.
Okay.
Councilmember Dickinson on 13.
12.
Oh, 12, pardon me. Vice Mayor Talamantes on 12.
Thank you, Clerk. So I just want to thank Sean and Jackie from YPC for making this beautification project a reality. It is a pilot program for the Niños Parkway so that community members can help us with beautification of it. A lot of neighbors throughout the years have extended their backyards, and there are things that you can do on city property and things that you can't do. And so this is YPC's creative way of addressing this issue that we've had for about 20 years and seeing if we can make it work. And so I look forward to working with neighbors to help answer a lot of the questions that are still pending, offer flexibility, and really kick off this volunteer pilot program.
Councilmember Dickinson on 13.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a hearty yay on this one. This is actually $1 million that Congressmember Ami Bera was able to secure and deliver to our city for improvements at the Johnston Park Center. The pool is open and operating, which is great, but the center still needs some significant work in order to be the full community asset that it is. And this $1 million will contribute significantly to that effort. So a lot of people put a lot of work into this, starting with our director, Jackie Beecham, and on down through the YPC staff. I appreciate that very much. And when we have a member of Congress working so hard on our behalf, I think we ought to also recognize that.
And for the record, that item 13 that you were speaking on will be withdrawn this afternoon and will be heard after the recess.
Oh, okay. So I thought you said 13. I was hoping you didn't, but we'll say yay again.
Thank you. And Councilmember Dickinson on item 30.
I think this is also another yay. Get there? Yes. Yes. This is, again, something that we received a federal grant for actually quite some time ago, before the end of 2024, if I recall. Jennifer's going to signal at me if it was 20, yeah. And it's really an opportunity to reimagine a significant portion of Old North Sacramento and reaching into a little bit into Gardenland Northgate, I'd say. It's very exciting to get the consulting contract and get the contractor on board to accelerate and go 4 times as fast as we've been going. I see thumbs up from Jennifer. So this really has the opportunity to reimagine and transform not just the transportation network within Old North Sacramento and to areas surrounding it, but to create an environment which will be much more conducive, I think, to the kind of economic investment and development, the kind of neighborhood improvement and prosperity that this part of the city deserves. So I'm delighted to see it, and I want to give it some recognition. Thanks.
Councilmember Kaplan on item 31.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I just want to say thank you to city staff. This is regarding our Vision Zero school safety projects and Phase 2 studies looking at 10 different schools throughout the city of Sacramento on how can we look at traffic. If you have ever had a child and had to drop them off at school or pick them up, it is our least favorite thing I think anybody has ever done, and has never said drop off and pick up has been done extraordinarily well. And the only way to make it better is, in my experience as a school board member, we were one of the first districts to get $1 million grant from Caltrans to redo the ingress in some of our schools to make it safer, is to actually get people out of their cars and make it safe for our kids to walk and bike to school. And one of the things that I am hoping our city staff does, Natomas took this on as a school district. And we are leading in this because we partner with our North Natomas Transportation Authority, and others. But also, don't forget, I think, protected bike lanes. If parents actually knew there was a protected bike lane in a certain route that they could get their kid to and from that could ride that you would get more kids out of cars and into their bikes and walking with that protected bike lane, but also making sure that we are working closely with school districts, because while we know Sac City and other districts are having financial difficulties, the one thing they do have that is very separate is they have bond funding, and that bond funding can be used for facilities and sidewalks and other infrastructure. So there is money that I know Elk Grove and Robla and Sac City and Natomas and Twin Rivers actually have, because they have passed bonds. So making sure that we work with them in that regard, I just want to make sure that loophole is that we close it and work together with them, because I think we could actually implement some of the things that your study comes up with. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Thank you very much. Well, I just appreciate everyone's work here. I'll go ahead and make a motion to move the consent calendar with the exception item number 8 and continue item number 8.
Yeah, I'm not done quite yet. But I have Councilmember Kaplan on 36 and then Dickinson on 36.
It's a long consent calendar, trying to get a lot done before we go out on break. This is the citywide cleanup and storage services with SF Global. I just want to point out that we are spending a significant amount of funding for cleanup in what we do with the 311 calls and addressing the amount of trash that is out there. What I would love to understand, and I don't need to know now, but a follow-up is, it's written in this report, but how we've streamlined when somebody calls 311 and says there's an abandoned, people have camped on the sidewalk, there's a lot of things abandoned. I know that's not necessarily a priority, but what's the process and how do we prioritize? Because I know we look at active camps, but I think sometimes we miss the empty or abandoned camps that are there, and they may get left in the wayside. And especially when we look at when winter comes in the rain and everything else of what is that process. And I know it's a balance because there isn't enough time or resources, but how do we look at that and address
that? Brian, I actually had a question. And my question just goes to the portion of this that indicates this enhanced approach, as it's called, is going to be implemented in the central city. And so I just wanted to be clear on, is it only the central city, and is that being used as something of a pilot to see how this combined approach works that might then be expanded to other areas, or is it seen as this is really the only geography that it makes sense to use it? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So some of this came from you, Councilmember, and Councilmember Vang on the meetings that we brought together and looking at our trash efficiencies of how we can be more efficient across the city. So this kind of morphed out of that in that we have the 311 calls coming in the central city that we have FS Global picking up on one side of the street, and then we have a solid waste pickup on the other side of the street, it made sense to pull off Public Works solid waste in the central city. They currently have funding to work central city, and so we simply pulled that component from solid waste, pulled it into our budget, and made it more efficient that we would just clean up anything that we see, whether it's on either side of the street and whether it is a solid waste or a homeless encampment.
So you referred to a source of money that could be pulled in to fund this approach in the central city. Is it any different source than what normally underwrites the activities and functions of the solid waste division?
That was funding that was from solid waste. I'd have to have solid waste or Public Works speak on why that funding was specific to central city.
What I'm really trying to get at is I appreciate this for the central city, love it, wondering why not North Sacramento, why not other parts of the city? That's really that's where I'm going.
Briefly, Ryan Moore, Assistant City Manager. So the funding for that comes from commercial compliance fees for the Recycling Solid Waste Division. I'll let Brian answer it, but basically it was an efficiency in the central city to have two different groups, DCR and Recycling Solid Waste, doing the same thing. Didn't seem like a wise move, so let them each focus on their own area.
So the two of don't go away, Brian. With the two of you, so did you make some determination, at least at this point, that because of the geography or the circumstances, the characteristics, something that it would only work effectively in the central city as opposed to other parts of the city, or is that yet to be determined?
No, I think we looked at the central city and saw the much larger density of homeless-related activity. And you have DCR operations, which have a certain mission, which is largely related to the homeless function. And you have the Recycling Solid Waste Group, which has a different mission. It's illegal. It's more of the sort of garden variety illegal dumping. So it's awkward to have one group on one side of the street picking up trash, which would be construed perhaps as homeless related, and on the other side of the street, literally, sometimes you have a different group doing almost the same thing. It's just different. It was like, why are we doing that? It's more efficient to have one group in the central city pick up all illegal dumping, don't ask questions where it came from, and then outside the central city, same thing. If that makes sense. It's just efficiency.
Okay, I get it. I mean, I'm certainly not opposed to this. I'd actually like to see it expanded.
The funding for that is, it's the commercial compliance. It's the same. The Recycling Solid Waste Group is an enterprise fund, so
Right.
the work they do is all paid by ratepayers.
Right.
Illegal dumping is not covered by, and this is the work, the study that's underway to kind of look at it.
We're going to ask Gus about that.
Yeah, a better, they've looked at it extensively, but basically the illegal dumping needs to be funded by something other than ratepayer funding, which is protected by Proposition 24. So, I'm sorry, 218.
Yeah, so your source here is not ratepayer funding to do this.
That's right.
It's okay. I understand that distinction. Okay, well we'll ask Gus to revisit that question of what limitations Proposition 218 puts on these kinds of activities. But I hope that, and I expect that you will watch this closely to see if it makes sense operationally in the central city, because as I read this, I said, boy, could we use this in North Sacramento?
And we are still having those conversations to work on.
And I understand Solid Waste has been doing a lot of work on this. I know you guys are busy. We're going to come back to us in the late summer or fall, early fall, with some ideas. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Councilmember Kaplan on 37, and then Vice Mayor Talamontes on 37, and that would conclude our comments.
Thank you. Again, on 37, as we look at our coordinated access with Sacramento steps forward, it's the same comment I tend to go with. Thank you for finding ways to save money, but data and accountability. And the follow through. While I know we have certain things in, making sure we're in alignment, everybody's getting into the coordinated access system, but also just the accountability on it. And then just, occasionally will call out. I would want to make sure, I don't like that we have to pass things by a 2/3 vote because we did not meet the council rules and timelines. So to the extent that we can be forward-thinking and not having to, so that we can meet the 10 days notice prior to council and not having to get a 2/3 vote on this would just be appreciated.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Talamantes, item 37.
Thank you. Brian, I know we used to put in $1 million, and now we're putting in $600,000. How does that change the level of service?
So that was a great question. We had several meetings on this with SAC Step Forward because our reduction from $1 million to $600,000 was also matched by the county's funding as well. So they went from $1 million to $600,000. This is will be our second year at $600,000. Our funding is almost like 99% of it is directly for 211 staffing and to run the 211 portion of the coordinated access system. Our discussions have been, next year we don't have it budgeted. What does that look like? And what does that do with our 211 system? The overall budget for CAS is around $7 million. This is a component of that. It would require SSF to look at their entire budget and determine if we can still run the 211 system. Where are they going to pull funding from to keep the 211 system up?
Okay. And then how did the city and the county end up in this type of agreement where I know we were both paying $1 million and then we did $600,000, so the county did $600,000. But at the end of the day, for me, like, we aren't the Health and Human Services agency that has services for people. I mean, we have housing, but we don't have services, and so and obviously a smaller budget. So can you tell me about the history of that, if you know it?
I don't know the specifics of it. We've had this contract for 5 years, since 2022, so going on 5. And it was an agreement upon the city that we were going to put money into this. And I've been working us back out of this.
Okay, and part of the budget includes $1 million for prevention. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
So our prevention is carve out from our HAP funding that we are moving $2 million into prevention. So there's prevention funding in the coordinated access system, and then we will be adding $2 million to that. The system itself spends about $1.5 to $2 million on prevention currently. And then we are having meetings to ensure that we meet Councilmember Dickinson's demands and requests for prevention on how to target the correct population on that. A lot of the prevention, if you look at how it's being used currently, a lot of it is for more of rehousing and not grabbing people before they fall into homelessness, or a lot of it is also spent on legal for evictions. So that's what we're digging in right now and trying to get a little further upstream so we're not. And some of that timing was the old way that it was required. You had to be, the requirement to use prevention was a 3-day window of being homeless. And with the new requirements, they expanded that out. So we have more time to actually react.
Okay, yeah, and that's where SHRA did a presentation last year on their prevention efforts and the dollar amount of how many families they helped prevent from becoming homeless was incredible. They did a lot. They made a little bit of money go such a long way. So I do encourage you and city staff to look into seeing what their strategies were. And then the last thing is, for the longest time, I thought 211, the people behind the phone were county staff, but they're not. They're contractors through a subcontract through SAC Steps Forward, and that's problematic for me. I just feel like we're going 1, 2, 3 degrees of separation of accountability and transparency. And so can you tell me a little bit more about who the subcontractor is and what kind of education the employees receive for what kind of services the city and the county have?
Yeah, so you're correct. SSF subcontracts that out to Community Link. I don't know if SSF is...
What's the name of the organization that...
So Peter's here from SSF. but some of the things that they have to report. So they report to us on our city contract. SF reports to us quarterly. We have a number of callers for housing status, number of callers a day of week, number of callers time of day, number of references to connected to shelter, connections and referrals to other sources, housing sources, number of assessments completed. So there's a whole laundry list of what's reported to us quarterly, as well as call wait times, call abandonment rate as far as people waiting on the phone and abandoning the call, and then referral rates. I don't know if Peter wants to speak any more on tracking Community Link's work.
Yeah, so Community Link is the 211 operator, and 211 serves the entire county geographic area versus like 311 systems, which can be broken up by jurisdictions.
And Community Link is a nonprofit, or
Community
what
Link is a nonprofit operator of 211, and they're the only operator of the 211 system locally.
How many employees does Community Link have?
For this line in particular, there's 24 full-time employees that are using the homeless service backline. And beyond that, I believe they have additional staff like the regular, like just service center line and also benefit navigation services that they work. Community Link is a subsidiary of the Goodwill Industries of Northern Sacramento.
Okay, yeah, because I remember a year and a half ago, my staff was using 211 to help someone, and they didn't know what Department of Community Response was in the city of Sacramento, and so that was problematic for me. And so having the employees on the other line that are picking up the phone be aware of the resources that we have is just so important if we're going to actually help people. So, okay, thank you.
Councilmember Guerra on item 38.
Thank you very much. Item 38, a great program here, an item that we're going to continue. This item supports both St. John's program for real change and Weave. They have helped since we began this effort in this contract, hundreds of women and children who have either experienced domestic violence, homelessness, also many of them dealing with challenging issues that the city has taken a leadership role in to making sure that we prioritize family and children. So I'm excited that this is here. I know, I agree with Councilmember Kaplan that we would like to have not had the 2/3 vote requirement, but nonetheless, we need to make sure that we move this item forward so that we can continue to service both of these great programs, St. John's Program for Real Change and Weave, that have shown that they can help people transitioning out of the worst part of their life, being out on the street, finding some stability, and then back to independence. So looking forward to this item moving forward. Again, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
So Mayor, we have concluded comments on the consent calendar. Items 1 through 42, item with the exception of 13, which was withdrawn, and 8 are a separate vote. We have a
Except there's a clarification. Number 8 is not a separate vote. The motion is 8 to be continued. So it's a motion on the entire consent calendar with 8 to be continued.
So 8 is continued and everything else. So the item is on 1 through 42, but the vote is 8 to continue the item.
Correct.
So that was a motion by Guerra, second by Talamontes.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any noes or abstentions? Hearing none. 9-0.
Thank you.
Thank
And Mayor,
you.
if we may, can we take item 44, a public
Yes.
hearing prior to 43? Item 44 is a public hearing on renewal of the Oak Park Property and Business Improvement District number 2026-03. And at this time, I'll open the public hearing.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. I am Suzanne Tan with the Finance Department. The item before you is the public hearing for the renewal of the Oak Park P-BID for a 10-year term. Renewal of the Oak Park P-BID will continue to provide services and activities that create a special benefit to assessed properties within the district. At this time, staff recommends opening the public hearing. Upon the close of the public hearing, staff will count the ballots and come back to council as a consent item on July 21st with the ballot tabulation results. Thank you. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. And Mayor, I have no public comment on this item number 44.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Maple, second by Councilmember Jennings.
Open and close the public hearing and move the item. The morning item had already been opened. I just needed to close and make the motion. The motion by Maple, second by Jennings. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Pluckybaum absent. Passes. That member passes. Thank you. We go back to item 43, which is fiscal year 2026-27 Business Improvement Area BIA Annual Proceedings.
Thank you. The item before you is the annual proceedings for the BIAs. The city has 6 BIAs. As required, each of the BIAs has prepared and submitted an annual report for the upcoming fiscal year. The annual reports specify the expenditures for the various programs, the assessment rates, and the types of programs the assessments will be used for. There are no changes to the BIA boundaries or the method of levying the assessments. Thank you. Staff is available if you have any questions.
Madam Clerk, anyone signed up to speak on this item?
I have no speakers on this item. I still need the public hearing opened.
I will then move to close the public hearing and adopt the staff recommendation.
Councilmember Dickinson opened and closed the public hearing. Second. Councilmember Kaplan, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Pluckybaum absent. Motion passes. We move now to item 45, which is the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, TEFRA hearing, approval of tax-exempt bonds and loan commitment in the amount of $5.1 million for Florin Family Apartments.
Good afternoon, Christine Weichert with SHRA. Staff is requesting approval of a loan commitment of $5.1 million for the construction of the Florin Family Apartments. The proposed project will be located at Florin Road and 29th Street. The 5-story buildings will consist of 122 1-, 2-, and 3-bedroom units available to households earning 30 to 60% of area median income. Amenities include community room, community lab, play structure, and the property will be gated with security cameras and evening patrols. Christian Church Homes will serve as the developer, property manager, and resident service provider. They currently have property management and resident services for over 50 developments, but this will be their first project in Sacramento. 40 hours of resident services will be provided, including 14 hours of after-school programming. The developer has applied for Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities funds, and after award, the project will apply for mortgage revenue bonds and low-income housing tax credits. So in closing, staff's requesting a $5.1 million loan commitment for the Florin Family Apartments and is available to answer any questions you may have.
So, Mayor, let's open the public hearing. I have no members of the public to speak on this item.
I was just going to open and close the public hearing and move the item, but I think there's like several folks in the queue. I don't know if we can clear that.
Were you punching up for this item?
Unless Council item Dickinson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Christine, I don't have a problem with the project. I had a couple questions or an observation, I guess. One was, and I can't remember whether the staff report addressed this, that this particular applicant has developed not other projects in Sacramento, but in other jurisdictions. Is that right? I have a recollection you told me that.
Yes, they're located in the Bay Area. I've done almost 50 developments there. I believe, unless I have the wrong developer in mind, I think they have a project in West Sacramento. Yes, they do have a project in West Sacramento.
Okay, and so you've had a chance to see their projects and how they're maintained.
Yes, they're a nonprofit developer who put a great deal of effort into their property management and resident services. So yes, we have seen them.
And they have a sufficient reserve to meet the obligations necessary for maintenance and repair over time. Is your observation, your conclusion?
That is, we've done a lot of underwriting and review of their reserves, and it's adequate.
Okay, that is.
Yeah.
That is a concern. I was just going to say, with respect to the renderings of this is a somewhat of a difficult site because it's so linear.
Yes.
First of all, but I have to say, looking at this, both the site plan and the renderings, this looks pretty institutional. And I don't know if there's enough latitude in the budget for some architectural enhancements or not, but my concern would be that if it is seen as institutional, that over time it won't get the kind of respect and treatment that it deserves. And I'd hate to see it degraded on that basis. And frankly, I'd like to see it as a more, what I would think is a more attractive addition to the landscape of both Florin Road frontage and as the building proceeds south on the lot. So I don't know what kind of ability you've got to do some more work in that regard, but having looked at the way architecture is going, and my degree of architecture is bestowed by virtue of election, I understand that. I really think it could be more attractive, frankly.
Actually, I agree with you, council member. I think what we'll do is get back together with developer and city planning, the design review staff who reviewed this, and we can see what we can do to enhance the facade.
I think that'd be great. I'm just channeling my inner Don Natoli here, so.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
You have a motion, and did that include closing the public hearing, council member? Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Vang, a second by Councilmember Maple. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. We move to item number 46 and 47. These items are similar, so we will be taking the two as one. So we're taking item 46 and 47 together. 46 is an ordinance amending provisions of Title 17 Planning and Development Code related to cannabis consumption land use. The project is M26-014. Item 47 is resolution establishing business operating permit fees for cannabis consumption lounges.
Thank you, Mindy. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Kevin Collin. I'm the zoning administrator for the City of Sacramento. I'm joined with Kurt Skierski, Senior Planner, and Matt Hurdle, our Director, today. I'll be presenting the zoning aspects for cannabis consumption lounges.
And Kevin, I was amiss. Can I open the public hearing for both 46 and 47? Thank you.
Great. Thanks. By way of overview, I'll give a brief background on the zoning aspects of this, or lounges in general, provide a summary of the ordinance that's presented for your consideration today, and then conclude with the staff recommendation. As I mentioned last week, I presented the same slide. For 4 years, the staff have been working on cannabis policy questions that have spanned from finance and business regulation to land use planning and zoning, and had dozens of community meetings, public meetings to discuss various topics. One of those included the idea of exploring consumption lounges. More recently, there have been a series of meetings that our peers in Finance Office of Cannabis Management have facilitated on the lounge question specifically. That a notable date of November of 2024 included the adoption of Title V regulations for the business aspects of consumption lounges. And today they are here for a final remaining aspect related to the fee that will be presented shortly. I thought it would be important to frame the regulatory context for conversation purposes so that our audience understands that this topic is regulated by two titles of City Code for different reasons. So on the slide here, what I'm highlighting in yellow first, Title V, already in the books as law today, regulates a variety of topics, spanning from who can file for a permit, how businesses are conducted, which products are able to be sold, how many of these businesses may exist in the city. A whole host of regulations there, and I'll give some more details in a moment. For purposes of zoning, we're looking at one central question, and that is where in the city could a consumption lounge propose to be located? When we think about the issues that did come up in previous meetings that have been codified in regulations, these are not land use regulations, although they may blur the line in some senses, but adopted in November, there are a series of regulations that already would apply to consumption lounges that are not duplicated in the zoning. So You need to be connected with a dispensary, for example, age restrictions, health and safety provisions, signage and education, et cetera. For purposes of zoning, the ordinance before you is rather straightforward. It builds upon the adoption of an ordinance last week for zoning overall, in that the criteria are simply onefold. A dispensary is the only location, a storefront dispensary is the only location a consumption lounge could propose to locate pursuant to state law and the ordinance that's before you. There is no other location or standalone consumption lounge that is possible under law. And so we have drafted an ordinance that presents that central question. If a dispensary exists, it could propose a consumption lounge. If a new dispensary were proposed, they could propose just to dispense, sell cannabis, or they could also propose a lounge in conjunction with that. In the former example, the sensitive use buffers would not apply because the dispensary is either going to conform to the current standards, which will be in effect in 21 days, or they will not. But the direction from this council was not to penalize lawfully established cannabis businesses from changing or modifying their businesses. For new or proposed lounges that are in conjunction with a dispensary, the sensitive use question will be on the table for virtue of the dispensary. That those buffers and criteria still apply. All lounges would be subject to a commission-level conditional use permit. This is a novel, unique, new land use in the state, generally speaking, and we did not have the benefit of a cannabis comprehensive study that evaluated that land use to give us information about its potential effects. So we have proposed to have essentially the highest level of review for lounges. In conjunction with that, as mentioned last week, all conditional use permits for all cannabis businesses would be subject to call-up review from the mayor or the council member in whose district the project is located. Where could these lounges potentially locate? There is an ultimate cap on number of businesses in the city through Title V. The zoning districts on the slide show where dispensaries are permitted to locate. Not shown are the sensitive use buffers, which would further reduce that available land area or affect the review authority for a proposed dispensary and lounge. With that, I'll keep it brief. Our recommendation is that you pass a motion determining the ordinance exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act and adopt an ordinance amending various provisions of Title 17 to provide for the new cannabis consumption lounge land use.
Good afternoon, City Council. Al Romero Gibu with the Office of Cannabis Management. Item 47 includes the proposed fees for both types 1 and 2 respectively for consumption lounges. And this fee would be applicable to both new applications and also renewals. These fees were developed by our contractor, Economic and Planning Systems, EPS, as part of the ongoing permit fee study. These fees will be reevaluated at the end of the social consumption pilot program through the end of 2029. The fees are calculated based on the reasonably foreseeable cost required to administer the city's regulations for the issuing, monitoring, and enforcement of the cannabis consumption lounge permits. Staff recommendation is for City Council to approve the proposed fees for types 1 and 2 consumption lounge BOP types.
And Mayor, I have 9 people for public comment. Would you like to take those now?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Maisha Bahati, Kimberly Cargile, Josh Lewis, Deanna Garcia.
Good afternoon, Council. I am in support. Surprise, surprise. Maisha Bahati, I own Crystal Nugs. We're in District 4. Just a couple of things I wanted to let you guys know, just in case you don't, in regards to lounges, because I know that it's been a hot topic. Based on the city's own outreach, there's only like a handful of dispensaries that even qualify because they have the space. And as someone who went through the conditional use permitting process, something that took us 6 months, and we had a public hearing that was very intense, I can assure you that if you don't have the support of your council person or your community, you're probably not going to make it through that, because the commission does take the community's voice very seriously. And even if you have the support as a business, you are going to be expected to answer some difficult questions in regards to how you're going to control the environment, levels of protection for employees, protection for customers, et cetera, et cetera. Also, by pushing this through, you're just pushing it to the next phase. You're not going to have a plethora of lounges opening because there's still the process. It took us 6 months. I've been told that, or we got an estimate for our HVAC ventilation that will take us 6 months. So we're already at a year, and we have the space. So this is not something that's going to happen overnight. And at the end of the day, you need pilots to pilot this program. And you have a few of us here who have been consistent, who are businesses in good standings, who believe we have the support of our community and our council person. And I would ask that you would give us an opportunity to scale our businesses and show you guys that this pilot program can work. Thank you very much.
Kimberly Cargile. Following Kimberly is Josh Lewis, then Deanna Garcia.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and staff. My name is Kimberly Cargile. I'm the owner of a Therapeutic Alternative, a medically focused storefront dispensary and delivery in East Sacramento, operating since 2009. I'd like to thank you all for taking your time to work through the issue on Title 17. I think the current agenda item takes into account both the community concerns and the industry concerns, so I support that. However, I do not support the agenda item regarding the on-site consumption fees. We currently already pay $20,000 for our annual business operator's permit, and much of the information required for the consumption lounge application has already been submitted and vetted through the storefront permitting process. And ongoing compliance inspections are also already taken into account for our initial BOP. So the proposed consumption fee lounge fee is duplicative and excessive. It's also very high compared to other cities. And I think since it's already overlapping with our other permit and only already permitted storefront dispensaries can even apply for this, and it is only a pilot program, I ask that you consider a lower fee since there's only a few of us who are going to apply anyways, and it is not a revenue generating business. Thank you.
Josh Lewis.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and members of the Council. My name is Josh Lewis, Government Community Relations Manager for Embark. We operate 17 stores statewide with one location here in Mack Road. We do not plan to participate in this pilot program, but are here to emphatically support its adoption nonetheless. Where we have concerns, similarly to what Kimberly mentioned, is with the fee structure. And I want to raise 3 points to that regard. I think first is that the onus on the city to review applications for these businesses is very similar for both dispensaries and consumption lounges. The application requirements for both business types are incredibly similar, and as Kimberly mentioned, significantly duplicative. In that regard, we encourage you to at least look at the March numbers that were presented. We find it challenging to support a 43% increase in staff review time in just 3 months between the March report and what is being presented today. But additionally, I think other points that I could raise, first of all, you have to understand that cannabis renewals are 99% of the time identical to the initial application that is being presented to the city. What that means in practice is we are submitting the exact same documentation year after year to the city. And for consumption lounges where that process is already duplicative, staff review time should go down after its first year and after the initialization of one of these businesses. So we heavily encourage you to adopt a tiered structure wherein those fees are reduced annually in accordance with the idea that staff review of the exact same information should not need necessarily to be as extensive. In the third piece, and more of an emotional plea than anything, but I think it's critical to understand that fees are oftentimes the difference between a cannabis business's success and failure. In 17 communities where we operate, in every single one, we have seen businesses be unsuccessful on a margin smaller than the fees that are being proposed on this item. It's meaningful, and in a business where margins are as tight as ours, and success and failure is a very thin line, we encourage you to take as generous of an approach to the fees that we have to pay.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Deanna Garcia, then Kaylee Olgerson.
Hello, City Council members. Mayor's just left, but I appreciate you looking at this item today, and I agree and hope you approve the zonings. The fee schedule, like the last two speakers have mentioned, are kind of outrageous. We are a core store, which is a program that the City of Sacramento has put together to help people who have been harmed by the war on drugs to succeed in the cannabis industry. These fees are very outrageous. The information that your city staff is asking for the stores is been presented before and is not much different than what they're going to be asking for in the future for the on-site consumption. So as you go through these two today, I would ask that you would lower the fees, and thank you for all your hard work and dedication to move this forward.
Kaylee Olgerson, then Mindy Galloway. After Mindy is Jeanette Carpenter.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor, City Manager Smith, and members of the City Council. My name is Kaylee Olgerson, and I'm here on behalf of the Sacramento Metro Chamber and our coalition of licensed cannabis operators throughout the City of Sacramento. While we are supportive of the Title 17 updates, we must oppose the BOP fees for cannabis consumption lounges as proposed. We're particularly concerned by the substantial increase in the proposed fees compared to those included in the March 3rd staff report, and by the limited opportunity that stakeholders have had to provide input on the assumptions used to develop these costs. This is a pilot program. The purpose of a pilot is to test, evaluate, and refine a new policy before establishing a permanent model. Imposing substantial upfront fees before the program has even launched creates a significant barrier to participation and risks limiting the very data and operational experience that the city hopes to gather. It's also important to recognize that consumption lounges are not a standalone business. They're an accessory use attached to existing dispensaries that already pay significant fees in permitting, compliance, inspection, and oversight each year. For these reasons, we respectfully urge the Council to adopt the fees originally proposed in the March 3rd staff report with a lower fee tier for renewal applications. Thank you for your time and consideration today.
Mindy Galloway.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Mindy Galloway. I'm the CEO and owner of the Pocket Dispensary. And I want to thank you all for the time and dedication it has for discussion on this topic. It's been a really long road, and I'm really glad that we're here currently. And in absolute support of the Title 17 amendments, but oppose the fees when it comes to the cost of doing the application. So I was planning to do a on-site consumption after reviewing my budget. I'm still working on it, but it doesn't look like it'd be feasible for me. My budget would be around $400,000 just to open up with the HVAC and other construction costs. But as a person who lives in an apartment in downtown Sacramento, it would be nice to go and have tea at a therapeutic alternative and go smoke at Crystal Nugs. So I understand how costly things are, and given that the on-site consumption is attached to a dispensary, which we already pay fees on, and currently with the initial application and then renewals being very similar to what we do for initial application. I'm hoping that we can work to streamline processes to save the city money as a whole and to be able to reduce our fees so that we can be able to thrive and succeed as an industry and be able to have the on-site consumption, which is a benefit to the community and to other people who live in apartments like myself. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jeanette Carpenter, then Angelica Sanchez, and then Kevin W. McCarty will be our final speaker.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and Council members. My name is Jeanette Carpenter, and I'm here on behalf of Child Action. For 50 years, Child Action has empowered Sacramento County's families by connecting them to subsidized, high-quality childcare. We are proud to partner with 4,500 child care providers, and we serve over 20,000 children across the community. We respectfully request the inclusion of childcare centers into sensitive use category and therefore allow a buffer between childcare centers cannabis dispensaries, and consumption lounges. At last week's council meeting, this council approved churches to sensitive use category, and you also approved a 1,000-foot buffer between dispensaries and high schools. Yet our most vulnerable young learners, age 0 to 5, within child care centers were not included in this sensitive use category. Prioritizing churches and high schools for sensitive use rather than child care centers is inequitable. Over the last year, Child Action has received over 15 emails from different providers and parents requesting that child care centers be included in this sensitive use category. Therefore, we are respectfully requesting parity in the field because our K-12 ecosystem, because the K-12 ecosystem is included in sensitive use category, whereas the ECE field providers are not. Please consider our youngest learners and respect our ECE educators that work in child care centers. Thank you.
Angelica?
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, and staff. My name is Angelica Sanchez, and I'm here representing Perfect Union, a cannabis retailer that has operated in the city of Sacramento for the last 15 years. I'd just like to thank staff for the significant amount of time, Kevin and Kirk, thank you, that has gone into developing this ordinance and these amendments. This has been years in the process. Office of Cannabis Management has had different community meetings. We've had public input. We've talked about it for a very long time, so I'm very excited to see it moving forward, and I hope you're able to support it today. While I support the cannabis consumption lounge programs, we do have concerns about the fees. The city's own EPS study found that cannabis operations generate a significant fiscal surplus to the city, and that revenues generated by the industry are substantially greater than the cost of operating the Office of Cannabis Management. Sacramento's regulated cannabis industry continues to contribute millions of dollars annually in local taxes supporting programs like Measure L. Cannabis consumption lounges are also not standalone businesses. They are an accessory use attached to an already licensed and regulated storefront dispensary that is already subject to permitting, inspections, and compliance checks. For those reasons, we respectfully ask council to consider a more measured fee structure that supports participation in the pilot program while still allowing the city to recover everything at reasonable cost. Thank you for your time.
Kevin McCarty is our final speaker.
Good afternoon, Mayor, although he's not here, and council members. I am Kevin McCarty, the other one, a compliance director for Capital Compliance Management, representing COLAS and many other licensed cannabis operators throughout Sacramento. As everyone else said, I'm here to support today's consumption lounge ordinance and launch of the pilot program. What a long, strange road it's been over the last, I think, 4.5 years, but hopefully we're finally here. This is really, as been said, this is not a revenue-generating business. This is not a huge step, but it is a step toward bringing cannabis consumption into a safe, regulated, and transparent environment. I do also urge the council to adopt the March fee structure, which we believe is more reasonable and achievable, especially for a pilot program. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out. They're accessory businesses. We're already inspected monthly. Significant fees and ongoing regulation and compliance costs. And the purpose of the program is to encourage participation and gather data for the pilot. If the fees are set too high from the start, fewer operators will participate, and the pilot won't be able to provide a true picture of its potential benefits. We want it to be diverse. We want as many operators who are within the confines and the guardrails of the ordinance to be able to participate and see how it plays out. The March fees were already substantial, and it would allow the city to recover its costs, but while still giving the pilot program the best chance to succeed. If actual costs prove higher, the council can always adjust later based on real-world experience. So I respectfully ask you to approve the ordinance and support the lower fee structure for the pilot program, and let's move forward and see how it works out. Thank you so much.
Vice Mayor, that concludes our public comment on item 46 and 47.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you all for your public comments. So I'd like to close the public hearing for item 46 and 47. And next up, we have Councilmember Maple.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I want to start by saying thank you to the staff. I know this has been long in the making before I was in the seat, and now I'm going on to my second term. So just to show you how long it's taken to get to where we are. But I think that that's in large part due to the significant amount of outreach that was done to the community, to different stakeholders, to the businesses, and just making sure that this is something that, and to the council, making sure this is something that can work for our city, and that we're doing it in a way that makes sense for Sacramento, because not every city is the same. We know that there's a lot of other cities that do this, but we need to make sure it worked here. So I just want to appreciate all of that time and energy that got us here. I'm very supportive. I've supported this every step of the way, and I'm excited at the opportunity for this to be a reality in Sacramento. And so I want to ask a few questions that will kind of drive into the fee question. That's one of the things that I heard, so maybe whoever's most appropriate to talk about fees, come on up. And this is also a little bit about structure, because I'm going to ask these questions not because I don't know the answers, but because I think it's important for the public to know too. So how we have structured this pilot program is that only existing dispensaries can even apply to be participants. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And then of those, so we know that's a finite number because we only have so many dispensary permits in the city of Sacramento. And so of those dispensaries that could potentially want to do this, then it will also be dependent on whether or not they meet other qualifications, such as do they have the appropriate amount of space to have a separate room that they can portion off? Do they have the ability and, frankly, resources to be able to pay for a pretty expensive ventilation system that will be required under this, and also comply with all the other regulations and rules that have set forth. That's correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so when we talk about going in and doing inspections for renewals, let's say we have someone in the program, they have put in the ventilation system, they have submitted all of their documentation, and we've said, yep, you're approved for a permit. And then as we do right now, every year you'll come up for your renewal, and then we'll basically review their documentation, ensure that they're in line with the rules and regulations and compliance. That's correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And so the big distinctions, as I understand it, between their current operation as a standalone dispensary and having also a consumption lounge is that they have the separate portioned off space, they have the ventilation, the proper staffing, and all of that. Help me, I would love to understand the fee structure and why we're proposing, in my view, such a high cost on what I seem to be, most dispensaries they're going to be putting in the same documentation as they already do year after year, unless they make significant changes to their business operations plan or their security plan. So I'd love to understand that a little bit more.
Yes, so to answer your question, is a bit of a two-part answer. So the first one is, what is it in code that adds to what is a consumption lounge use? So we're looking at, you have an additional ventilation and circulation plan review. As you know, specifically for type 2, it is a more intense use in terms of mitigation of what would be the odor of cannabis. So that comes into play. Floor plans may change if there are some dispensaries that would like to, look at their facility now to include a consumption lounge. So that's also something that goes under review. The security piece also comes into play because you have a use that is now distinct from what it originally was. It is no longer just a retail use, and now has a consumption aspect to it that by itself it's also divided from the original use that was retail. So these are and amongst others, these are elements that OCM incurs additional time to review to make sure that, through the initial application review and also through renewal, because we partner with other departments to make sure that their use and operation is consistent with code, and that's something that we're going to start doing on an annual basis. So not just OCMs, but also different departments' time is what is being considered under the study. So that kind of goes back to the second part of my answer. Over time, EPS has obtained data to make their initial calculations. And as you all know, EPS has been spending some time on this for a couple of years now. The sample that they took initially goes back a fiscal year before this one. And what the fees reflect now is this sample of just about 5 months actually overlaid on top of the most current permitting data that we have from fiscal year 24 and 25. So the data that is feeding the calculation of these fees is the most current one that we have at this time.
Okay, I think you anticipated my next question.
Oh, I'm
which
so
was,
sorry.
No, that's good. Which was why the change from March to now, because it seems pretty significant by thousands of dollars from what was proposed in March, and then what?
Yeah, so another thing that EPS had informed us is initially this sample of about 5 months was also, in the prior calculation, also understood as what would apply for the entire year. And since that March 3rd date, EPS has had some additional time to actually look at the entire annual distribution of permits throughout fiscal year 24 and 25. So now this sample that is being now applied to a whole 12-month period is providing more accurate numbers in terms of the distribution of permits and the more accurate staffing hour allocations that now help inform how much to assess for these fees.
Okay, great. Those are all my questions. I appreciate it. So, just again, very excited about this program. I do have some concerns about the fees. Actually, one last question. So, for core program participants, because that was one of the other questions or comments that was made, they are waived. Their fees are waived. Is that correct?
They are exempt from BOP fees.
Okay,
per city
so
policy.
if you're a participant in the equity program, your fees will be waived. But if you're not, then these will qualify for you. Thank you. So yes, very, very supportive of this program. It's been a long, long, long time in the making. I'm excited about the possibility in Sacramento. It is a pilot, which means that we have the time and the ability to see how it goes. I think realistically speaking, knowing what I know about the industry is maybe we'll get one or two, in the next year or two, and we'll be able to see what that looks like, because it does take time to go through our process. It takes time to, we heard one estimate at $400,000 to do the ventilation system and the tenant improvements, which is really expensive. And so once you go through all this, I don't anticipate that we're going to see lounges on every corner in Sacramento. What we're going to see is a small trickle of businesses start up, and we'll see whether or not those are successful and ways that we can improve our process over time, as we always do. And so that's why we're doing a pilot program. And so what I'm going to do, I talked to our clerk, and we need 2 separate votes on this. One for the actual program and use regulation, the land use regulations in the program. So I am going to close the public hearing and move that item for 46, and then we'll do a separate vote for the fees. Okay, and those are my comments. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Thank you. Why don't I start where Councilmember Maple ended with the fees. So I was also curious about the suggestion of tiering the fees over time, that subsequent renewals really present much the same or identical information to the original application, and whether it would be sensible to and feasible to reduce the fees over time, to tier them. Did you guys think about that?
That wasn't considered as part of the study. However, these fees are coming as a proposal from EPS, and these fees can always be reviewed in the staff report. It lists that at the end of the pilot program, and once we can gather some data from operators that open up consumption lounges, we'll be able to better assess, the fees as applicable to, throughout the life of the pilot program, if they are consistent with what the fees are covering in terms of staff hour allocations.
Okay. On a different point, was the difference in fees at all discussed with the interested parties between March and now?
So these are currently part of an ongoing study from our contractors. So we would defer to the contractor on the level of engagement that they have had. But this study is reflective of what their calculations have been based on the data that has been provided objectively by OCM to EPS.
All right. So maybe I don't understand. I thought the request under item 47 was to adopt these as the fees.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
if it's an ongoing study with EPS, how does that match up?
So the consumption lounge fees portion, that one is completed by EPS. This is part of a comprehensive permit fee study that EPS is just about to finalize. The consumption lounge calculation did come before to also, match this hearing date to make sure we were able to bring all elements being in consideration for lounges, and that is why we're bringing these fees at this time.
Okay, so I'm back to my question. Was the amount of fees that, since it's changed since March, when you're talking about a smaller number to now a greater number, was that discussed with the interested parties prior to this, post-March and prior to this hearing?
It was not.
Okay, so they hadn't had a chance to discuss this or see the methodology or talk about the things that they might think were necessary or unnecessary to include in the analysis. There was no chance really to do that.
There wasn't a chance for engagement. However, the fees that are proposed right now are coming from calculations from a contractor that has been given data for them to assess, what are the appropriate amounts for fully cost recovery in alignment with city policy.
Right. No, I understand that part. I was really talking about the interaction with interested parties as an opportunity to review that, ask whatever questions they had to see the methodology, all of those kinds of questions. Okay. Thanks. Thank you for that. I had a question. I think, Mr. City Attorney, this may go more into your venue, and it's really occurred to me since a little bit since last week. If an existing operator applies for a CUP either under what are we calling it, Type 1 or Type 2, and satisfies the objective elements of that, does that preclude either the commission or the council, should that item be called up? Does that preclude them from denying the CUP? He's the CUP expert.
Hi. Courtney Burdick, City Attorney's Office. So the conditional use permit can be called up, that land use decision. The Type 1, Type 2 licenses, that's part of the separate Title V operating scheme, and so no, that cannot be called up. At least part of the land use scheme, maybe the Title V folks.
Well, now I'm even more confused. I thought let's back up for a second. I thought the CUP requirement applied to the lounges.
It does.
Okay. So regardless of whether it's one or two, my question is, if an applicant satisfies the objective criteria that you have listed for qualification for either a Type 1 or Type 2, can that conditional use permit be denied?
Yes.
So
the sequence of
ultimately, the council would retain discretion to deny it or not, based on other considerations than necessarily the bare objective requirements that are included in the title.
The criteria in Title V do not apply to a conditional use permit.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
And
I just didn't quite hear you.
the criteria in Title V, the business regulations for a business operating permit, do not apply to Title 17 conditional use permits. The sequence of events for permit consideration would start with a conditional use permit. That would need to be granted for the business operating permit to receive clearance from our staff to be approved. And most applicants would not even bother to proceed if they were denied under Title 17.
Well,
You don't have a site.
I understand that. What I'm just trying to nail down as much as possible is the degree of discretion that remains with ultimately the council in deciding whether or not to grant a CUP for these purposes. In other words, if an applicant says, look, I've got the right size, I've got the right equipment, I've got the right distance, I've got all these things you put in here, but the council ultimately, let's say that the council says, you know what, this just isn't a fit in the neighborhood? Is that a defensible decision?
So it would be our job to support you in developing findings. You might identify an issue, concerns. We would assist with the supporting the drafting of findings that would demonstrate that you could not make all the required findings for issuance of a conditional use permit, and therefore you would issue a denial and a de novo, a new consideration of the permit. You're not bound by the prior consideration of a previous body.
Okay, good. That I understand that as a good staff answer, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sort of way. That is a good statement of your job. I understand. Okay, but it would be a matter of defining what the findings might be that would justify the denial. Is really what you're saying. Okay. Then Kirk, come on back up. I have a question about type 2 lounges and specifically to smoking and vaping. And I see that there are certain items that are required for application for that purpose, including non-recirculating and high rate of air exchange HVAC system in particular. I'm curious whether either you have done, not you personally, but staff has done, or you are aware of studies that address the impact of smoke on secondhand receptors under these conditions.
So I'm actually not the right person for this question because that regulation is under Title V. The health and safety of consumption lounges in terms of employees, of customers, was debated during the Title V amendments in November of 2024. Under the zoning criteria, it is literally where the location, the property, how the business is conducted internally.
Okay.
I
don't think we asked this. To the best of my recollection, we didn't ask this question. You may not be the right person, but I don't know if the right person's in the room, but.
Councilmember Dickinson, don't want to interrupt, but this was something that I remember Councilmember Guerra asking about, and I know this was before you were actually seated on the dais. And from what I remember, and if there's staff to correct me, it's the highest level of ventilation was put in place under Title V to accommodate that, as well as signage, and then asking the employee if they were okay of doing that, but that it would be completely blocked off and would only be, the smoke would be contained in the room, not that it would go into the rest of the lounge.
Mm-hmm.
But I know your colleague on the Air Resources Control Board, was very fastidious in particular about that. And I think what we agreed to was the highest standard that was put in Title V.
Pete, do you have something to add?
Yes, I was just going to add, if council recalls, we did bring in some public health experts to discuss this issue with council. And as Councilmember Kaplan was mentioning, this along with a number of other safety restrictions were put in as kind of a condition of issuing a business permit.
Okay, thanks, Pete, and thanks, Councilmember Kaplan, for the history. I know this was a sensitive subject before I got here as well, and it certainly is for me. But is it then correct to say that the employees could avoid exposure to secondhand smoke? Is that what you're saying? And is that physically feasible within the construct of the lounge?
I will defer to our program manager who can speak on air ventilation.
And if it is that a requirement of how these lounges would be constructed? So.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Fiona Matz. I'm the program manager for the Office of Cannabis Management. So I think I'm going to try and answer your question, but stop me if I'm, incorrect here. So essentially, the Business and Professions Code which gives us the authority to, create this program, the pilot program that you all voted on in November of 2024. And it allows employees under that code to have their employers pay for N95 masks. And they are required, there's certain pieces in that business and professions code that the employer has to go through in order to protect their employees upon them asking. There also has to be education, training. So there's a lot that has to go through on the employer's part to have someone go into a lounge.
Okay, but, I mean, people need jobs, and whether they're going to be willing to say, no, I wouldn't wear a mask to the employer or something of that kind is doubtful from my point of view. But I understand your answer. But the further question is the construction of these lounges such that the employees are isolated from where the smokers are?
It can be. It's all how they are. It's all how it's constructed. And remember, this is a pilot program, so part of that pilot program is there can be a window into the dispensary as well.
Okay, can be is different from must be.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's not required under this. Under these regulations, it wouldn't be required to be isolated. I see. Okay.
I want to add, council member,
Yes.
it is not required, but OCM would conduct a review of the floor plan as, former prospective businesses that want to have a lounge would submit those modified floor plans to OCM for our review.
Okay, so and then in terms of your review, you could include exposure to secondhand smoke?
Yes, we can include that as a policy piece in our consumption lounge plan. That is their operation plan that is going to be required to submit to our office and reviewed.
Okay, all right. I appreciate that offer. I'll look forward to seeing the work when it happens. Okay, I think those were the questions I have. I am persuaded that this is justified in trying out, although you can tell by my questions I have reservations. And I certainly do have strong reservations regarding anyone who is subject, willingly or unwillingly, actually, to secondhand smoke of any kind. That's the reason we took smoking out of restaurants and bars, out of office spaces, out of virtually every private and public space we have, because we know the effects of secondhand tobacco smoke. The question, though, I think for me at least, goes beyond tobacco to all kinds of substances that are subject to being burned, and what the health impacts may be of exposure to that, especially by someone who would prefer that not to be the case. So with the recognition that this is a pilot, we're going to evaluate it as it goes along, then I think it's fair to see how it works. And I know you have tried to put measures in that will reduce the likelihood of significant exposure to smoke. So that's somewhat helpful as well. So as I've said a few times in the past, I'll vote for this, but with an asterisk.
Thank you, Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to concur with my colleague, Councilmember Maple. Since I got on council, I have been very supportive of how we move this forward. It is a business, and I think, we have approximately 30, 35 dispensaries, could have up to 40, 30?
38 currently.
38 currently. So if everybody met every rule, we could potentially have 38, either type 1 or type 2. I have driven around and seen many of these storefronts all over the city, and probably maybe only a third could even get close to potentially qualifying, even less for a type 1, more could potentially qualify for a type 2, which is non-smoking type of permit. So for me, I'm not really worried about the overproliferation because of the time, the energy. I know some have been planning for 3 years and have fully invested, hoping that this is going to come to fruition. So with item 46, setting it up, I'm very supportive of moving forward with the pilot program as I was in November 24. On 47 on the fees, I have some of the same questions, probably don't need answers because they were answered, but same questions as my colleagues. I think it's always important when we have an outside contractor, as we did with EPS, who came up with a fee, and then between what we noticed in March and then what got published now, I think it's incumbent upon us as a council and a city to be more transparent, and that even there should have been an outreach or an email to everybody last week with a full explanation. To have industry come here and say, I don't understand, it's a 43% increase, but you don't have that explanation why, it leaves many to question. You know why, EPS knows why, but I think it's incumbent upon us to say, this is why, this is what we're gonna do, and this is the cost. I am, for example, not totally similar, but sidewalks. When somebody gets a complaint about a sidewalk and they need to fix their sidewalk, the city gives them a fee and gives them, this is how much it's going to cost. I have worked with a significant amount of my community members. City gives a quote, and then we start working on it. And then we start working on the contractor. And does it really cost this much? And does it cost this much? We break it down, and every single time, the original cost is not the cost that the homeowner pays, because we break down as to what the actual cost is to replace it, and is the contractor marking up costs, and could we let the community member actually do it for a cheaper cost? So I know that's not equated the same, but when we have an outside contractor that comes up with a fee, I have a lot of questions. Is that really the fee? Does it really cost that much? And why wouldn't we consider a tier structure when, for the most part, it's copy and paste, when you've already got a dispensary, and I know there's slightly different things with the lounge, but it shouldn't be where they're already paying $20,000 and then almost another, like 40 to 50% another fee for a lounge. It feels like we're feeing to death, which has kind of been the theme of this budget year, and you guys are just falling into that. So I would be very supportive. I don't necessarily support what EPS claims. No offense, I don't, because not enough why has been asked. But I think in reality, the state sets this. This is so overly regulated. It is so dot the i's and cross the t's that there has got to be a way that we can streamline this and reduce the fee somehow.
Council member, I just wanted to step in because I've heard obviously this concern from a number of the council members and also from the community. And I think one thing that we could do is, for our regular dispensaries, we have a different renewal fee than kind of that initial inspection fee for the reasons you just laid out. And I think what we can do is work on what should a renewal fee look like and bring that to council in the future. And I think that makes a lot of sense as well. We don't want to be duplicative and charge businesses for the same thing twice. So that makes sense, and we can certainly take that direction and come back to council.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Pete. I think that's one step in the right direction. But as we look at this pilot, I would really like to see the streamlining and how could potentially the fees be reduced, especially if somebody's already gone after. I get the initial, but the renewals really shouldn't be costing the same amount. And I think there's a potential happy medium with finding that. So thank you for that. And that makes me a little bit more comfortable with, I'm still not comfortable with the increase between March and now. I got to tell you, don't like it at all. And if there is some way that we can claw some of that back as we go through this pilot, because I really only see right now off the top of my head, potentially 3, 1 lounge and maybe type 1 and 2 type 2s coming to fruition under this pilot to start the process. So I don't want we're waiting for data to see whether this works or not. We're never going to get that data. We're just not. I think we have to look at what's been done elsewhere and what's the experience of the individuals going through the process. I think we need to heavily rely on them and base the pilot program off of that feedback. With that, I will reluctantly move the fees for item 47 with understanding that they will look at the renewal structure fee as well.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we have a motion 46 and 47, two separate items, two separate
I
votes.
still need a second on item 47.
So second.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's call the roll first on 46.
Thank you. On 46, motion by Councilmember Maple, second by Kaplan. Councilmember Kaplan? Aye. Councilmember Dickinson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Talamantes?
No.
Councilmember Pluckybomb? Councilmember Maple?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra is absent. Councilmember Jennings?
Yes.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
Mayor McCarty?
Yes,
Motion passes, one absent, Guerra,
and one no.
and one no, Talamantes. Item 47, the motion was by Councilmember Kaplan, a second by Mayor McCarty. Councilmember Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilmember Dickinson? Vice Mayor Talamantes?
No.
Councilmember Pluckybomb? Councilmember Maple?
Abstain.
Councilmember Guerra is absent. Councilmember Jennings?
Yes.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
Mayor McCarty?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay.
We move to item 48, which is delinquent charges, special assessment for sidewalk repairs and related costs.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Leslie Curry from the Revenue Division, the Receivables and Collections Unit. I'm appearing today to present the 2026 annual delinquent sidewalk repair costs and request a resolution to place a special assessment on the 2026-27 property tax roll for unpaid fees. Currently, there are 159 accounts totaling $569,437.80 that remain unpaid from 2025 or earlier. This amount includes unpaid invoices and invoices that were previously in payment plans that have now defaulted. Exhibit A in your packets contain accounts and totals broken down by your council districts for your convenience.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing. I have no members of the public signed up to speak. Councilmember Kaplan?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you for all the work staff does. I have like some policy heartache with this matter. I know we need sidewalks and sidewalk repairs, but also I'm dealing with community members where in new development, the city planted the wrong tree, which caused the sidewalk disrepair, and now the city is asking for the homeowners to pay for the sidewalk repair. And there's just been one too many instances of me working with community members in low-income areas, getting charged different fees. And the more I get involved, the more we relook at the fees and what's being paid and what homeowners can handle. I think we need to reform this. I can't in good conscience, based off of talking to community members and what community members have experienced, vote yes on this item. I know we have work to do. I know the city manager is looking at some of this, and this is something Councilmember Guerra and I have consistently discussed, but I think just continuing the status quo where it really does harm our most disadvantaged neighborhoods, and many don't know to call my office to get help. I can't continue to say, yes, we should be charging these assessments. So I will be voting no on this item for those reasons, not for the fact that staff isn't doing a good job.
Okay. Do we have any speakers on this item?
I have no public comment on this item.
Okay. So moved.
You need to close the public hearing?
Yes,
Okay,
done.
thank you. So I'll close the public hearing by Mayor McCarty. Do I have a second? Second by Dickinson. Let's do a roll call.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaplan? No. Councilmember Dickinson? Councilmember Pluckybaum? Councilmember Maple?
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings?
Yes.
Councilmember Vang?
No.
I have Vice Mayor Talamantes and Mayor Pro Tem Guerra absent. Mayor McCarty?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. That's no for Councilmember Kaplan and Vang, absent Guerra and Talamantes.
Okay, next item, please.
Item 49 is proposed ballot measure, Sacramento City Employees Retirement System, SCRS Termination Act, which is a charter amendment.
Afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Matt Riak with the City Attorney's Office. Presented for your consideration today is a proposed ballot measure for the November 2026 election. If approved by the voters, the measure would amend the Sacramento City Charter to provide a wind-down mechanism for the Sacramento City Employee Retirement System. The Sacramento City Employees Retirement System, or SCRS, is a defined benefit plan paying benefits to certain eligible employees. It is a closed system. There have been no new members in the system since 1977, and as a result, the system's actuary has calculated that currently for every dollar of liabilities or benefits to be paid to retired members, there is $1.10 of assets to make that make those payments. Currently, the city charter has no mechanism provided for the wind down of the retirement system, and so the city treasurer's office has been looking for a way to de-risk the SCRS liability and wind down the SCRS system. There is currently only one active member in the system, and there are 710 surviving members who are taking benefits out of the system. So the proposal that we're asking for you to approve to put on the ballot for November 3rd, 2026 is a measure that would amend the city charter to provide a mechanism after due consideration by the city council of certain criteria to ensure that all due benefits are paid to the retired members, that eventually that the system would be wound down. There would be appropriate accounting mechanisms to assure for the accounting of the money and the benefits to be paid to retired members. And then there would be, in that situation, most likely a surplus fund that would revert back to the city's coffers to be spent according to the purpose stated in the measure, which would be a revolving housing loan fund and potential for affordable housing. So I'm here to recommend that you approve putting this on the November ballot.
Here I have one speaker, Allison Lee.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor McCarty and members of the City Council. My name is Allison Lee of the Sacramento Regional Business Leaders Council. We appreciate the opportunity to speak in support of this resolution to place the SCRS Termination Act on the November ballot. SCRS is a closed system, as you guys just heard, and this is currently well-funded. As its small participant base continues to age and decline, this charter amendment provides a responsible, transparent mechanism to protect every earned benefit while creating a pathway to direct any future surplus into a dedicated housing revolving loan fund. From our perspective, this idea is smart governance. The city understands housing projects and has a background, expertise, and strong relationships with organizations like CADA, who know how to put public dollars to good use for developing new housing. This resolution has the potential to turn prudent pension management into tangible progress on Sacramento's housing challenges without new taxes or burdening the general fund. It aligns with our calls for fiscal discipline, outcome-focused policies, and leveraging existing resources to deliver more housing faster and at a lower cost. We commend Council Members Guerra and Maple, Treasurer Colville, and staff for advancing this thoughtful proposal. We urge you to approve the resolution and give voters the opportunity to support this common sense reform. Thank you.
you. Mayor, that concludes the public comment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I just wanted to set the stage for the council on this item and the next several items. So this item will be informational tonight. We won't be taking a vote on this, but we did want the council to hear about the idea, want the public to hear about the idea. And if there is the willingness to put it forward on the ballot, we would hear it on the first. We'll hear this item coming back right after the break. But the big picture, as we know, a couple decades ago, the city employees transferred from this city pension system to CalPERS, like most municipal governments, and we, paid the beneficiaries for several decades. And as you know, there's just one left, and I think she's worked for the city for 50 years. So God bless her, and she can work for however long she wants to. And when she does retire, she will get a key to the city. So we've already told her that. But when she's done and we start closing down, our treasurer noted that we do have a surplus, not a massive surplus, estimated about $20 or so million. And so we need to know what to do with that. So it's not up to us, it's up to the voters. So I know that the treasurer briefed all of us about this for well over a year. And he went to the offices of all 9 council members and talked about this idea, and he did come back with a list of ideas of how we could dispense with the residual amount. And the issue that came up with the most amount of support from council members was focusing on housing, specifically affordable housing. And one thing that we talked about, I talked about with him, and other council members liked the idea as well, according to his conversations. And he's not here tonight, by the way, so Mr. Ruyak is his proxy, but I'm speaking for the treasurer as well, was the idea to have this pay it back, not just a grant and good luck, see you next time, but a revolving loan fund. I love that idea because, in the extent that we have an opportunity in the future with our city coffers growing, we can consider dipping money in that fund as well and paying for projects and having it paid back and replenish it and do more. So this allows us to seed this idea. We did want to make sure that business groups, taxpayer associations, others know about this idea, so we won't be taking a vote tonight on it. But I think this is a worthy, good government idea. Thank the treasurer for coming up, putting this forward, and certainly our city attorney and our budget department came up with options for this. But again, this would have to go before the voters. So the first chance is for us as the council to talk about this tonight. So start with you, Councilmember Maple.
Thank you, Mayor, and appreciate the presentation. And I also appreciate the fact that we're having this discussion in public, but waiting on the vote, because I think it's so important that we're transparent, that we have these conversations with all the relevant partners, and then nobody feels like something's been sprung on them, which sometimes people do feel that way, whether intended or not. So I think being intentional about that is very important. I'll speak specifically to some of the recommendations, bless you, around housing. So it should be no secret to anyone that housing is one of the priorities for this council. We've all talked about it, I would say, at length at different points of time from this dais, especially with the focus of affordable housing, workforce housing, infill housing, and missing middle, all things that we've focused heavily on over the years. And one of the challenges, of course, is that we don't build housing. We're a city. We do create the environment for housing to be built, and we try to facilitate wherever we can. But we know that we're in a housing crisis, and we know that there's a lot of challenges, folks, both folks being able to find and keep housing that they can afford, but also for affordable housing developers to actually build that, in part because it's a really difficult economic environment. So one of the things that I think many of us have heard talking to developers in our districts and beyond is that there's a lot of really great ideas for projects. There might be a lot of really great locations and things that are just about ready to make it work. They're almost there, but they're often having challenges doing what's called cap financing. So they might have everything lined up for a project and they're just missing a couple million or a few $100,000 or something in the interim. And unfortunately, that missing dollar amount has actually led to projects not only being stalled for years at a time, I can name quite a few in my district specifically, sometimes killing those projects entirely. And those would be otherwise great housing projects that people can live in our communities that we do not get to see because of that economic environment and situation. And so with those conversations with the community, myself and Mayor Pro Tem Guerra last year submitted a proposal that was heard in the Law and Legislation Committee with the idea of creating a revolving loan program for affordable housing and workforce housing in our city. And the idea being providing gap financing for projects that are just about there and have a reality. And the idea behind this is, what if we could invest in Main Street and not Wall Street? What if we can have real tangible things in our community that we're investing our tax dollars in and seeing it back versus investing in the stock market? And so this was one of those ideas. We've talked at length with the treasurer for months on how this could work, and this funding pool is one of the number one ways that he identified that we could fund such a program. And so I'd be thrilled to see this be something that we move forward. I recognize that we have a lot of other conversations to go, but I hope that you will consider this as a worthy proposal.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mayor. And I really appreciate the direction tonight, open discussion, transparency, and getting some council direction. I love the idea of having money set aside that is the gap financing, but also I think the nature kind of changes as the deal the state made yesterday of putting on the November ballot a pure state housing bond, affordability bond for affordable housing and also for veterans. So having that ability to have state matching funds, which I know sometimes when you look at it is really important. One of the things when our treasurer first came to have this discussion at council that I actually asked, which gives me a little pause with fully supporting 100% of the funding going directly to affordable, is I asked to see, one was a poll, which I know a poll was done. The results that I got of people who voted said 19% wanted for affordable and for housing, 21% wanted economic development for our parks, community facilities, and or commercial corridors. 14% wanted investment in public safety, and 22% wanted investment in homeless services and solutions, and there was a couple other minor ones. I know in going through the budget, those who did our budget surveys said, I want you to focus on housing, homelessness, and safety. And then we as a council have housing, economic development, and public safety. So how do we intersect all of those in understanding that we need to invest in more affordable housing? My concern is 25 million may over the years get 1,000 or 1,200 affordable units, depending on how all of this is structured, because things are more expensive. It could potentially go more. But will that get, because ultimately what we might want, if the voters in my district don't see it as something that is going to benefit them, will they support it? And knowing that a statewide affordable housing bond is on the ballot, will voters get confused and thinking that instead of this giving money back and finding a new structure, will they potentially consider this as another tax? In my years as, and sorry that I do this, but equate it to a school board member, I've personally been involved in my own district and several districts, 10 different facilities bonds that all passed. And one of the things that's really important is you ask the community what they'd be willing to support. And a lot of times it was always when you go for bonds, the community absolutely loves knowing that they're going to get new playgrounds or an investment in new playgrounds. And that is a small amount invested, knowing that you can then modernize and get new classrooms and new school buildings or new gyms. And I can tell you, I'm not sure, because Natomas and Robler are very sensitive about affordable housing, that the votes would be there for my community to fully support this. So I would be open that I see like like a majority of this money should go to some revolving housing whatnot. But I think we shouldn't ignore that, like my district specifically, that's part of mine and the vice mayor's, community members tax themselves, so we get maintenance on our parks. But remember, we've also discussed a parks bond, and we have a huge infrastructure backlog. What about, and I believe however we structure this, it should only be one-time usage. It shouldn't be ongoing, funding, like one project. A housing is one project. So like maintaining a park, upgrading the infrastructure, that's one-time cost. That's not an ongoing cost. And then what about, a majority of our community is made up of small businesses. What if we used to have a small business office and that addresses economic development, especially if we are working with our Hispanic, our Asian, and our Black chambers on supporting small businesses? And it could be a small revolving loan or grant that we look at that, and that brings in economic development as well, that I think slightly giving a couple more options for the voters to see how it will impact them. I want to, whatever we put on the ballot, make sure that it passes. That ultimately, and I want to see that Sacramentans can see that how we took taxpayer dollars and are reinvesting in them as well. And especially when you look at, nobody's mad at parks and nobody's mad at small businesses reinvestment, that may be adding some funding in for the uses for that is something that I could get behind, and I hope that'll be considered. Thank you.
Need to deliberate and vote in a month. Councilmember Dickinson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple comments. First of all, I appreciate the proposal. This is not a vault-breaking amount of money. It's a relatively modest amount of money. And so I think two things are really critical here. One is that we use this on a revolving fund basis so that we can turn that money over time after time after time. And that means necessarily it has to be invested in the kinds of things where the money can be paid back. That's pretty simple equation. The second thing that I think is critical here is that we focus. We can't hope to be all things to all people. And so we know that housing is a crying need in the city, in the county, in the region. We know that we have so many people who can't afford housing because of a variety of factors, including limitations on supply. And we know that the answer to many of our basic challenges is in large part the availability of housing. So I'm very supportive of focusing this on housing, both the affordable and a market rate, as I understand this proposal to encompass. And I would make the smallest suggestion of adding mixed use to the permissible uses. So it could be mixed use housing and office, commercial, whatever it might be. But I think that'll open up a little broader spectrum of projects that'll actually be consistent with what we're trying to do, especially along our commercial corridors and in other places in the city. So I look forward to advancing this. I don't share the concern so much about the voters getting confused. I've seen a lot of times in the past where there have been state measures on the ballot on a subject and local measures on the ballot on the same subject, and the voters make that distinction. So I'm not particularly concerned about a confusion factor. I do think that housing is broadly supported as something the public recognizes that needs to be addressed in the community. So I'm also not overly concerned about people voting against it because they don't think that that it's an immediate benefit to them. I think people realize how critical housing is to our overall community health and welfare. But that's also for whatever the campaign is, to be able to convincingly make those arguments to the voters. Our job is, I think, to figure out what we think is going to be the best alternative in the service of the goals of the people of the city, and then present them with that option, hopefully for their consideration and approval. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Talamantes.
So like Councilmember Dickinson said, it's such a small amount of money, $22 million up to $25 million. I do not want to see it spread so thin over different subject categories. I'd rather focus on housing and doing a revolving loan. But the housing needs to be 60% AMI or lower. I do not want it to be 80% AMI because that's, to me, it's market rate. So I would want it to be very specific that it has to be for affordable housing. Next up, we have the city auditor's report, and it shows that when people are ready to exit our shelters, they just have nowhere to go because they can't afford a home working one job.
Nice segue. Well done.
I really want to make sure that, but the percent of AMI for housing needs to be very specific for me as we come back for the staff report.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Maple, you want to close it out?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to, I was inspired by your comments. And I wanted to, say one thing that Mayor Pro Tem, who had to go pick up his children. So I want to make sure that I relay this on his behalf. In line with Councilmember Dickinson's comments about the idea of mixed use. We completely agree. And one of the actual tangible examples that already is underway in our community on Stockton Boulevard right now is actually the Gateway Project, which is a mixed use. It's got affordability. It's also got workforce housing component. It sits in an area of the city that would otherwise be very, very difficult to get this kind of investment. And at the time, the city was able to find a way to get them a short-term loan to help them bridge the gap. And that's kind of what inspired this for us, was this, wow, this was really tangible, this had an impact, and now we're going to see this housing in our community. And so I just want to really agree and align myself with Councilmember Dickinson and Vice Mayor Talamantes on the idea that it's very important that this be revolving in nature, because it's not a lot of money. We can add to it over time, but at the outset, it's not a lot. And so if we are able to invest and get paid back with interest, so an example of this is right now in for a lot of developments, if they're borrowing money at, let's say, 7 or 8%, which is not uncommon right now in the market, and let's say the city can provide you a loan at 4%, we are both seeing a return in our investment. We're seeing more money coming back to us, and that means that we have more to go out over time for projects that can last far, far beyond all of us on this council, and hopefully we'll see many, many projects that can come from this. And so I just want to agree with all of that and say that the possibility is great. I know we're at the starting point, Mr. Mayor, so a lot of conversations to come, but I think this has a lot of possibility, and I appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you. Good conversation. I think that lays the groundwork, so we want to further flesh out kind of the option and maybe some of the language they heard from tonight, City Attorney and our Treasurer, but more importantly, reach out to the community about this idea, so we come back the first council meeting after recess, we can potentially deliberate and vote to put this on the ballot. So with that, this item will be not voted on tonight, and subsequently the corresponding implementation items for such a ballot measure will also be delayed till after our summer recess.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item.
Thank you. So, Mayor, item 50 and 51 will also be continued to July 21st. Those are as you said, the administrative items, placing the measure on the ballot, consolidating with the county, talking about ballot arguments and authors. So we move to item 52, which is audit of the city's homeless response, evaluation of costs and outcomes of sheltering programs.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Farishta Arari, your City Auditor. With me today are Joyce Chi and Ricardo Sanchez Molinero, who are primarily responsible for conducting this audit. The recommendation before you is to approve the audit of the city's homeless response, evaluation of costs and outcomes of sheltering programs, and the accompanying fact book. So first I want to cover what the audit objectives were. At a high level, the audit sought to analyze the various city-funded sheltering programs to understand which shelter program types are most cost-effective and most successful in helping individuals transition to stable housing, with the broader goal of informing future policy decisions and investment strategies. More specifically, the audit examined several areas, including the different shelter models currently funded or operated by the city, the relative costs and outcomes, how effectively different programs serve diverse populations and needs, and what characteristics or practices appear to be associated with stronger housing outcomes. The audit also aimed to identify broader opportunities to improve efficiency, coordination, and overall effectiveness of the shelter system. And then we also included a review of the Good Neighbor policies. All right, so I want to emphasize that this audit was not designed as a deep operational review of a single shelter. Our objective was to kind of step back and take a look at the shelter system more broadly and how different program models function together, what patterns emerge across shelters, and where broader structural factors may influence outcomes. We recognize that shelters serve different populations, operate under different program designs, and contribute to outcomes in different ways. So we focused on homeless sheltering programs operated or funded by the city from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025, which is fiscal years 23, 24, and 25. Certain analyses focused primarily on fiscal years 24 and 25 based on data availability and the relevance of more current information. And some information also reflects current operational procedures and practices because of timing. As part of our methodology, we interviewed both city staff and service providers, visited all active shelter sites, and conducted additional research on different shelter models and practices. We also reviewed contracts, financial and operational information, HMIS client and services data, and Good Neighbor policies, including feedback from surrounding neighbors. Note that not all shelters were included in every analysis, depending on the relevance of the data or the methodology used. This audit has 6 findings and makes 12 recommendations to increase shelter capacity and further strengthen performance measurement, resource allocation, and program implementation to better understand program effectiveness and maximize the impact of shelter investments. There is a metrics table that analyzes performance metrics across all shelters in the audit report. And this audit report is also supplemented by a separately issued fact book that provides additional background and comparative information on the city's homeless sheltering programs. The fact book presents information on program characteristics, operational priorities, outcomes, and costs across sheltering programs to provide broader factual context and illustrate similarities and differences amongst programs. Together, the audit report and the fact book are intended to provide a more comprehensive understanding of the city's homeless sheltering system, but my presentation today will be focused on the audit report itself. So during our review period, the city had 14 active city-funded sheltering programs throughout the city. 13 programs were active during most of the period, and as of June 30th, 2025, 1 program was active but not utilized, and then we also had 3 programs that were inactive. So the various sheltering programs can be grouped into 5 different categories by physical design. That's safe grounds, fully congregate, semi-congregate, partially non-congregate, and fully non-congregate. The physical design and population served is typically how the Department of Community Response has grouped the shelters in the past. I do want to note again that this audit only includes those sheltering programs that were owned and operated or funded by the city, and not all shelters or housing programs in the city. So for example, we don't include primitive supportive housing programs because that came up at budget and audit. And then county-funded shelters such as Stockton Boulevard, Safe Stay. But we did go and visit that site during our site visits to see how it compares to our city sites. It does have a 175-bed capacity with close to $6.5 million annual budget for fiscal year '26. It is operated by First Step Communities, who also operate some of our sites, and referrals are made by DCR to that shelter. A major part of the audit was trying to group the shelters in a way to better compare them. So you'll see in some parts of our audit that we use DCR groupings, but we did try to use a smaller group as well. So we chose to group the shelters into 3 different groups reflecting operational priority as well. These groups are generally similar to DCR's groupings, but focuses on what the shelter is trying to do as its main priority. And we found that this grouping actually is quite consistent with the patterns that we saw in the numbers. Essentially, these priorities align with the city's sheltering objectives, which are to shelter as many unsheltered individuals as possible, assist them in their path towards stable housing, and provide them with services that ensure individual well-being. And then we actually go into this into a finding later. The first group includes those trying to resolve a crisis or emergency situation. Clients typically enter through street outreach and are provided immediate stabilization and safety. Based on our review, these clients overall may have higher acuity levels or not be ready to engage in services quite yet. The next group are those focusing on sheltering and supporting housing progress. In short, these include most of the bigger shelters and most entered through the coordinated access system. They focus on providing stabilization, supportive services, and pathways toward improved or permanent housing outcomes. And then finally, the last group includes those that focus on resolving homelessness and supporting long-term wellness. These shelters have a stronger emphasis on wraparound services and longer-term wellness support, and they're often part of a provider's portfolio of various homeless support programs. And I want to clarify that we realize that some shelters do all of these things. It's more to indicate what stands out as our primary operational priority comparatively. And again, one of our findings does go deeper into this. Additionally, we have identified many more characteristics to group shelters. These will show up throughout the report depending on what we're analyzing. So this is just one framework that we used. As I previously mentioned, clients may enter the city sheltering programs through different avenues. 34% of the clients entered through DCR's street outreach team and 65% through the coordinated access system. There is 1% of clients that entered through other means as well. Overall, our analysis of fiscal year 24 and 25 data found that 20% of the clients that exited during this period had permanent exits out of homelessness. 28% were to improved but not permanent exits. 39% exited negatively, and the exits of 12% of the clients was unknown but most likely negative. At budget and audit, I was asked to highlight this metrics table, so I included it for this presentation. This table, which is on page 32 of the audit report, provides a summary of the various performance metrics that we calculated for the different shelters. I realize you can't read any of it. We included some notes and definitions in the following page of the audit report, but the rest of the audit report really provides more context for some of the variances in the metrics amongst the shelters that we noted. Oops. Uh-oh, I can't go back. I accidentally skipped a slide. But the first slide was finding one. It focuses on how shelter costs vary across program types. We compared the cost structures across all programs, and most cost differences align with the program design. So we also found that costs overall tend to emphasize sheltering and stabilization roles rather than longer-term outcomes, which may suggest that the cost structure could better align with the program intent. While costs per bed and client also vary across programs, there may also be opportunities to improve cost efficiency in some higher cost per bed programs. So this graph shows the total program expenditures for fiscal years 24-25 by shelter. We also include the average occupancy to show that the higher total costs are generally consistent with more clients served. The city spent approximately $63.2 million for these various sheltering programs during fiscal years 24 and 25. And according to DCR, approximately 27% of the funds came from the general or Measure U funds, and 73% came from other sources such as state, homeless housing assistance, and prevention funds. Here are our estimated cost per occupied bed per night for fiscal years 24 and 25. There is a lot of variation in the cost per bed per night. Differences in shelter costs appear to reflect the program design, operating models, and facility types, but the city has not clearly defined or evaluated the trade-offs between maximizing shelter capacity and investing in services that may improve client outcomes. These trade-offs are reflected in both how much the city spends on different program types and how those programs allocate their costs. Some programs receive more total funding, and each program allocates their resources somewhat differently, leading to different cost structures. At the same time, differences in the program costs are not driven by these trade-offs alone. They are also influenced by factors such as the number of participants specified in the provider contracts, the policy decisions that shape the program size, and the availability of potential sheltering sites. However, without a framework to define and evaluate these trade-offs, it is difficult to clearly assess program value and understand how different approaches support the system goals. We did try to compare each shelter's positive exit rates with their cost per positive exit. Overall, the relationship between cost per positive exit and positive exit rates appear weak and inconsistent. If higher spending consistently produced better outcomes, we would expect to see a clear upward trend in this chart. Instead, the shelters with similar costs often achieve very different positive exit rates, while some lower cost shelters achieve outcomes comparable to or better than the higher cost programs. For example, EBH at the Grove and the City Motel program achieved relatively strong positive exit rates without having the highest cost per positive exit. Overall, the analysis suggests there is no clear correlation between positive exit rates and cost per positive exit, indicating that higher spending alone does not consistently correspond to better outcomes. And this suggests that factors beyond spending, such as the program design and service delivery, may play an important role in influencing outcomes. Finding 2 focuses on shelter capacity and utilization across the system. Overall, we found that some shelters may have additional capacity available under existing occupancy limits, and that larger congregate shelters may be able to serve additional residents at relatively low marginal cost. We reviewed the process for determining capacity limits and largely concluded that existing capacity was an operational decision and not a regulatory constraint. As a result, we recommended evaluating whether capacity at certain shelters could be safely expanded within existing resources. And this finding focused on our larger congregate shelters, and the number of individuals that we did our analysis on is between 1 and 5. So this figure illustrates conceptually what we're referring to. Essentially, there is a gap between the contracted capacity, basically the operational capacity, and the maximum occupancy, which is what's posted in the buildings when you go see what the fire marshal has said can be allowed in the building. Not included in this figure is also that there might also be a gap between the maximum occupancy and the full physical capacity that's within regulatory limits. We compared the occupancy of the shelters with the costs of each of the shelters in our review. We assessed the fixed costs, step fixed costs, and variable costs of the shelters to estimate the nightly costs of an additional bed at each of the shelters. So as you can see, the cost ranges from less than $6 to $23, which is significantly less than the average cost per bed per night that we covered earlier. Given the city's ongoing efforts to expand shelter capacity and current fiscal constraints, prioritizing cost-effective expansion options can be beneficial. Lower effort, lower cost approaches, such as maximizing capacity within existing large congregate shelters, where operational thresholds permit, should be considered a practical option to serve additional unsheltered individuals. Finding 3 focuses on how shelter outcomes vary across different program types and populations served. Overall, we found that differences in outcomes often appear to reflect program design, shelter roles, and client populations more than immediate indicators of program effectiveness. We also found that the city's shelter programs exceeded the statewide average for permanent housing exits, while larger shelters accounted for a significant share of exits due in part to their size and number of clients served. This finding is largely descriptive and intended to provide context around how shelter outcomes vary across different program models and populations served, and does not contain any recommendations. So this figure has a lot of information, but it shows how we group the shelters into 3 groups based on operational priority. It shows the averages by group, and it shows each shelter's exit rates as well. So the goal is to compare across and within groups. Our main conclusion is that the positive outcome averages, which are in solid green, are directionally consistent with the intended function of each of the 3 operational priorities. Similarly, the averages for negative outcomes, which are in solid red, are also consistent based on each group's objectives, but expectedly in the opposite direction. And this slide combines the positive and improved exits into a single measure and compares them against the negative and unknown exits in a single measure. The clearest pattern is that outcomes generally align with each shelter group's intended role within the shelter system. Shelters focused on long-term wellness achieve the highest rates of positive or improved outcomes at 69%. And by comparison, crisis-focused shelters averaged 44% and housing progress shelters averaged 41%. This is consistent with expectations that programs designed to support longer-term stabilization and wellness would generally be expected to achieve stronger exit outcomes than programs primarily intended to address immediate shelter needs. However, we still see notable differences amongst the shelters within the same operational group, suggesting that operational priority alone does not fully explain the outcomes. So finding 4 focuses on the city's ability to evaluate the impact of shelter services on client outcomes. Overall, we found that current HMIS data limitations constrain meaningful analysis on which services are most effective, and that broader structural barriers outside of the city's control may also influence housing outcomes. As a result, the recommendations focus on improving data collection, standardizing data entry, and better tracking barriers that affect clients after stabilization. So these charts compare the relationship between the length of stay and the number of services received for participants with both positive outcomes, which is the chart on the left, and those with negative outcomes, which is the chart on the right. In both charts, we see a similar pattern. Participants who stay longer generally receive more services. However, the overall distribution of data points appears broadly similar between the 2 groups. So participants with positive outcomes and participants with negative outcomes can both be found across a wide range of lengths of stay and service levels. As a result, the available data do not show a clear relationship between the volume of services received and whether a participant ultimately experienced a positive or negative outcome. This doesn't mean that services are ineffective. Rather, the data do not demonstrate a clear or consistent association between service volume and outcomes across shelters. So this chart measures participant readiness rather than exit outcomes. So several shelters reported that a substantial share of participants were both document-ready and housing-ready. These results suggest that many participants have completed key preparatory steps needed to obtain housing. However, readiness does not necessarily translate into immediate housing placement, kind of like Councilmember Talamontes brought up earlier. These findings raise the possibility that factors outside the shelter system may be limiting participants' ability to exit to permanent housing, such as housing availability and affordability. In other words, for some participants, the primary challenge may no longer be becoming housing ready, but finding housing to move into. Then we did a similar analysis of those that were ready to be referred to treatment centers and found similar results. The shelters had individuals ready to be referred, but had not received the treatment, suggesting that limited treatment beds may also explain the lack of positive exits out of the sheltering system. Our research found that this is also an issue that has been identified by local area hospitals in their 2025 community needs assessments. So finding 5 focuses on how the city measures shelter system performance and progress. We found that existing shelter metrics might not be directly indicative of progress toward broader shelter system goals or measure client progress towards stabilization and wellness, and that the city has not established consistent performance targets or expected ranges for evaluating outcomes across programs. As a result, the recommendations focused on developing a more comprehensive performance framework and improving how client progress is tracked over time. So our analysis found that the city can strengthen accountability by more fully defining and using performance targets or expected ranges, and that existing metrics can be improved to measure the extent of client progress towards stabilization and wellness. We found that we typically focus on the client's outcomes, but that although client stabilization is a key component of service delivery, it is not reflected in tracked measures. Established approaches in human services and healthcare present options for tracking individual progress over time, such as a goal attainment scaling, GAS, and the Clinical Global Impression Scale, CGI. Both apply standardized rating scales to assess changes in individual condition, with GAS measuring progress relative to predefined goals and CGI assessing improvement or decline relative to a prior baseline. This figure illustrates how these two methods compare to each other. And we believe that case managers can utilize assessments like these during their regular meetings with clients to track client progress. And finally, finding 6 is our review of the Good Neighbor policies and is focused on our larger shelters. Overall, we found that many issues are influenced by broader neighborhood conditions and that responsibility for responding is shared across multiple entities. As a result, the recommendations focus on clarifying policy expectation, such as the radius of influence for providers, and improving communication and response processes with the surrounding communities. We reviewed 311 and police call data, did a survey of neighbors for a sample of shelters, and reviewed the policies themselves. This figure identifies the various responsible entities for responding to neighborhood concerns and the limits each face in responding to neighborhood-related concerns across city shelters. In summary, service providers lack a defined radius of responsibility. The city's incident management team can prioritize calls around shelters, but is limited to clearing a mere 25 feet buffer around the shelter, which is designated as critical infrastructure. And police calls are prioritized based on standard police dispatch procedures. This slide shows how other jurisdictions define areas of responsibility around shelters and other facilities. So current city Good Neighbor policies reference the area around the shelters, but they do not define a specific boundary. Other examples that we looked at range from 100 feet to 2,640 feet, with Sacramento Stockton Boulevard Safe Stay using a 1,000-foot radius. A defined boundary helps translate neighbor expectations into clear operational responsibilities. The radius should be large enough to capture likely shelter-related impacts, but small enough for providers to reasonably monitor and respond. We believe establishing a defined radius and corresponding response expectations could improve consistency, accountability, and community understanding. So as I mentioned, there is an accompanying fact book that supplements the audit report and provides additional information about the city sheltering programs. The fact book includes shelter profiles for each of our shelters in our scope period and additional analysis beyond what is identified in the audit report. So this concludes my presentation. I'd like to thank the Department of Community Response and the various shelter providers for their collaboration and assistance. DCR's response to the findings and recommendations are provided in the back of the audit report, and staff from both my office and DCR are available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam City Auditor. Appreciate the really thorough presentation, and now my second time hearing it, so I feel like I learn something new every time. With that, do we have a public comment, Madam Clerk? Now I would like to call up Brian Pedro to please give DCR's perspective, and then we'll go to public comment. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We're still in afternoon. So I wanted to thank Farisha and her team, the city auditor's team. It's a very, very big lift to try and understand the magnitude of homelessness and our shelters and what we do in our shelters and all the different types of shelters we have and the services provided. So I thank them for taking the time and effort and asking plenty of questions to try and understand, to provide a good audit, overall audit. We agree with all of the recommendations that they found. I think it's consistent with everything that we've been tracking as well. And we are constantly trying to improve our system in all aspects of it. And as you can see, there is many different shelters with many people, different people with many different needs. And we have many different services, and we have many different services that are tracked on many different platforms. And so trying to pull that into one cohesive understanding of what our magic solution is to solve, I wouldn't even say homelessness, is to solve the many challenges of every individual that is in our shelter, with housing being only one of them. This audit shows a really good small piece of the challenges that we have. And with that, I'm open to any questions.
Thank you. We'll hear from the public first, and then I'll pass it over to my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Pedro.
I have three speakers. First is Lambert, but it appears he's not with us any longer. Annabelle Gonzalez and Nick Goling.
Oh, Lambert's back.
Oh, there we are, Amber. Well, Lambert is here. Can we take Annabelle first and then Mr. Davis?
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Annabelle Gonzalez, a 12-year North Natomas homeowner and a 10-year childcare business owner. I am here on item 52, the homeless audit, and it confirms what neighbors have been saying for years. We are spending big and no one can prove what is working. That's the audit in one sentence. Accountability matters, transparency matters. That brings me to the city's recent actions. On June 4th, they filed a notice of exemption on 3 micro-community sites, 3511 Arena Boulevard, 6360 25th Street, and 2461 Gardendale Road, claiming these projects have no significant environmental impact. Here are the concerns. A portion of Project Site 1 is located within a FEMA floodplain. Their solution, elevate the units on ground screws, about 3 feet off the ground. No hydraulic report or no drainage analysis, just screws in the dirt. If you stand on the land, you will see 2 large storm drains, a fenced-off water basin, and a utility shed locked behind a metal fence with a sign that reads hazard. Was any of that ever studied? Was a real biological survey completed? And how does combining 3 different sites under one exemption give each one a fair and honest review? The people who signed this exemption are environmental consultants, experts in biology and noise, not Sacramento zoning code. So who actually verified these micro homes meet the city's own standards, setbacks, lot coverage, and utility access? An environmental survey is not a zoning review. And do you know how the public found out? The city filed this exemption with the county, the minimum required by law, and never brought it to this council, never had a hearing, and never told the neighborhood. Technically noticed, practically invisible. So my ask is simple: adopt the recommendations on this audit, set one standard for success, require outcomes to be tracked and reported, and answer these questions for the public before another dollar is given. Count people when they come in, count them when they leave, and no homeless shelter.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Lambert, then Nick Goling.
Welcome. Before I begin, what I'd like to ask is this a quorum?
Yeah, we have 5.
Because I don't see, of course, Mr. Pluckybomb's not here, but I wanted to make sure this is a forum before I speak.
Yes, we
Now,
have 5
this-
members of the council.
Now, this lady right here, she's telling, this is my viewpoint on the homeless in this department. As a person who went to a lot of meetings, I was so glad. I don't believe I would be going to the meetings if Mr. Dickinson wasn't the chair, because I've never gone there, because every time you crunch the numbers, that's where you can find out what's really going on. Now, in the Sacramento Bee came out with an article and said that's why I respect this lady just spoke. It's true. What goes in, what goes out. If the city auditor can find out what's wrong, what's going to happen if a federal audit comes in here where you can't control them? You're going to find out that suspended competitive bidding is part of this problem. I read where one group is thousands of dollars more than another group, but the one spending the most money doesn't get the outcomes of the smaller one. So as a business person, I would think, well, we have to just go to the smaller one and upscale. But because you have allowed these contractors to get the contract without bidding, that's why you have this disparity. It's very easy to figure out. And to the city auditor, outstanding work, outstanding. Because I still don't understand how she could be the city auditor and come up with these results and they're not sabotaged internally.
Nick Goling. Nick's our final speaker on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nick Galling, Executive Vice President with The Gathering Inn. We have been operating your North Fifth shelter since November of 2024. I could be mistaken, but I think we might be the only provider here today that was included in that analysis. I would like to thank the city auditors team, specifically Farishta, Joyce, Kevin, and Ricardo for their work in this process. They were consistently professional, responsive, and thorough from start to finish. At the Gathering Inn, we regularly analyze all aspects of our various programs related to outcomes, calls for service, guest engagement, community integration in the neighborhoods in which we operate, and others. We strive to be best in class in all that we do, and we won't know if we're going in the right direction unless we analyze the data and make adjustments as needed. This audit was an important step for our community and right in line with how we like to do business. The truth of the matter is that a common narrative, especially around HAP funds, is that billions of dollars were spent and no one can account for any of it. While it can be argued that certain investments have had varying success and that generally permanent supportive housing can be outrageously expensive to build, we can indeed account for where the money went, and this will help guide improvements and next steps. Finally, there's a lot that we can glean from these findings, and one of those things is this. These investments have resulted in thousands of lives that have been changed. Each of those lives represents someone's somebody. So when you think about the family members, the parents, the friends, the loved ones that also are impacted by this, able to rest easier at night knowing that their loved one is safe and has dignity and respect, that's tens of thousands more. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that concludes our public commenters. Awesome. Okay, now opening up to my colleagues. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you. Frishta, thank you. I really appreciate all the work that you and your team have put in. This is our third audit, I think?
Third report, yeah.
Third report. And I see a version of more coming. As the more you dig into it, it leaves more questions that maybe we need to look into. I think what I glean from this and what I hear from my community and neighbors and people in Sacramento is a frustration. Is they see the money that we've gotten from the state, they see the money that we invest in, and there isn't always data to show what works and what doesn't work. Unfortunately, your audit highlights that. But I think it gives us, knowing that we have this basis and we have this data, how do we move forward and do better? Truly, honestly, that's where I see, and colleagues, I really do hope we take a look at this and the shelter and the audit findings and how do we implement them. So I think one of them, which maybe you're already looking at, Mr. Pedro, is the capacity versus what we're serving. Even if there's room in a couple of places that we can add 5 beds, that's 5 more people we could potentially help. So how do we balance that? Because I know there is dignity and space and capacity that we all have to look into, but why don't we look into that? Because I think it's important when we have to be very careful when we talk about what's most cost effective. Well, what's the definition of cost effective? What's the definition of success? And so that's something I'd like to see us moving forward with, because we have varying levels of shelters. And I think success is different at every level in our shelter system. And so I think we need to kind of disaggregate that data so that we can start defining success of, we know those who, just as I stopped by the safe camping in the opening today, we know those have generally been on the street for a really long time. And it's just kind of almost living within rules and procedures. They're not ready to go into housing. So that might have a higher return to the street rate. They might not be as successful, where we know if, you look at the Village, the Waking Village and St. John's, which may cost more, but have more services, that there may be a higher success rate to permanent supportive housing. And so what I'd like to see is that we break it down and define what success is, but also when we define that success, what does that data look like? That is the data we get from whatever tier of support system that is, that it's the same, success is defined the same way, so the data is the same that we get, so we can start analyzing based off of that, because I'm afraid sometimes when somebody says they've got services, somebody may define services, I handed you a toothbrush, and somebody may define services as I had a 15-minute conversation with you, and that helped that individual maybe take those next steps, or get the support services they need for, a drug addiction. And so how do we measure and look at that? So you're finding one on different shelter costs may reflect program design. How do we now align that so that people can see program design is impacting different levels of those who are homeless? Finding 4 is a little hard for me because, and you explained it perfectly in why you said the limited review of shelter services show no strong link to positive outcomes. We know, and studies have been done that actually show a certain level of services do show positive and strong outcomes. Madam City Manager, I think this is potentially something where we have to talk to our state level partners, because I think the restriction of when we get HAP funding that we can't require services really hampers the success rate. Now, I think there are varying levels of whatever shelter you're in. Some you can demand, and some it's just getting them off the streets and starting. But every report that I have ever read, success increases when they get off the streets and it's paired with support services. And knowing that our hands are somewhat tied, that we can't require that. I'd also like, and I will continue to bring up, that when we look at what programs are most successful, what are most cost effective, I think sometimes something sounds good, but now that we have data and the cost, maybe the sounding good isn't matching the cost and the outcome. And should we take a look at that, and knowing that while we're getting HAP funding, and it's, thank the state for the next level, but you never know what the next level is going to be, but also that we've been significantly investing general fund dollars we don't have, that we really have to take a look at how do we realign what services we're providing. Ultimately, you and I have had this conversation, should the city be in the homeless business? And that's a lot of what the county does, and how can we balance that? Because I think we're doing good, but it's not something that I think is completely sustainable, knowing just the cost and the funding in how we do that. So, and then finally, I did put in two more things. One, I have always said it, and I have been on board even before Councilmember Dickinson joined us, is we got ARPA funding that really showed, done right, prevention and keeping people in their housing really is a extremely cost-effective way for keeping people off the streets. And we've got to, as we look at that, that has got to be part of our homelessness sheltering protocol, is the actual prevention part of it that I don't think we're concentrating or looking at enough. And then finally, I did submit, my colleagues, it was part of a larger proposal which hasn't been referred to committee, but one of the items in it was a good neighbor policy. Now, the county has adopted a good neighbor policy that I think the city should just adopt. We should mirror the city and county. They went through a very long process, and there may be some tweaks, but if I need to work with some of my colleagues and put in another proposal, but I think we need a written good neighbor policy. If the county has passed one, and we work with the city and we work with the county on a lot of this, that we should put forward one as well. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pluckybon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few highlights from the findings I wanted to point out. All things that we're already doing, expanded good neighbor policies, enhanced case management, a real focus on ROI in terms of how we're deploying limited resources and getting the best value for the investments that we're making. But the thing that I really wanted to highlight about this audit was what it does in terms of signaling leadership and building trust in the expenditures that we're making. I really appreciate that we've taken the time to do this level of review on the work that we've done. As we all know, the common narrative out there is that the state has spent billions of dollars and no one can account for any of it, and certainly you can make that argument. But also permanent supportive housing is super expensive, and all of those kinds of things are kind of floating around in the dialogue out there. But now we know for a fact, at least as it relates to the city of Sacramento, that thousands of lives have been changed, and many thousands more when you think about family members, children, parents of those people that we've helped. And I think for that we should be proud and know that for those folks we found safety and dignity and helped transform their circumstances. That said, we know there's a lot more work to do. This is not a mission accomplished moment, but I think as a milestone in the work that we're doing, I think it's a moment to recognize all the good things that we've done and all the more good that we still have to do. So thank you, Frischna, for producing the audit, and thank you, Brian, for doing all this good work.
Thank you, Councilmember Dickinson.
Thanks, Mayor. I made a number of comments at the Budget and Audit Committee, so I won't, or I'll try not to repeat too much.
Well, I didn't hear you, so tell me them all. Enlighten me.
I forgot.
You can just give me a summary, Roger.
I've forgotten where they were. You'll get the gist. First of all, I appreciate this audit as capturing a picture of what we're doing and where outcomes are for the different approaches taken. I think it's no great revelation to say that homelessness is a compound, complex equation with a population which is far from monolithic, and that means that it often is going to take different approaches at different points of time to work successfully with people. That's why I think there's no simple answer to, if we just did it this way, it would work for everybody, because that's not the way people are. And that's not where they are in their lives. It's not what they're ready to do. What I think you have shown quite demonstrably is that there is no proverbial silver or magic bullet here. There's not one simple approach that works. There are different approaches that work for different people at different points in time. And so the person who enters one form of homeless assistance and leaves in an unsuccessful quote-unquote exit may the next time be the person who enters a program and succeeds, as we define it, in getting to permanent housing. It's enormously frustrating, I think, for everybody that it can't be reduced to a simple equation, but the fact of the matter is it can't. And that's why we try different approaches. That's why we have emergency shelter, and we have transitional housing, and we have housing first. We have different modalities because different modalities work for different people at different points in time. So for my part, I think that the audit's actually quite helpful in demonstrating that the results are mixed, because matching up the person to the right approach at the right point in time is the magic of it. And that magic's hard to come by, especially on an everyday basis. So I do think that as we look at capacity, and I'm one of those who thinks we should be, to the extent possible, moving away from congregate shelters, because I don't think they're the most effective form of getting people off the street and housing them. While we do have congregate shelters, we need to look at what we can reasonably occupy those shelters with in terms of capacity. We need to look at where we have space and where we can put more people, if it helps people getting off the street and getting a chance to move out of homelessness on an ongoing or permanent basis. I also think, and Councilmember Kaplan touched on this, I think the takeaway for me from this is, if there's anything that's important to do, it's to prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place. Just because it is so difficult to find the right place at the right time for the right person to help them off the street, even with an enormous concentration of resources to do that very thing. It's far more effective, far cheaper to keep people housed who are at risk of homelessness than to help them off the street once they're there. So I know this is the drum I pound. I'm aware of that, but I'm not going to stop, because I think every time we do some sort of analysis of this, it keeps coming back to that same basic point. And so I think that we need to look at this audit in a slightly larger way about, if we're interested in trying to prevent and then house people who become homeless, What are the strategies and what are the tactics? Where should the money be spent in order to accomplish that ultimate objective? The ultimate objective is not to find the holy grail with respect to which form of shelter works best, because unlike Harrison Ford, we'll never succeed. So maybe we're smarter to figure out how we use our resources in a way that reduces the pressure on the system to get people off the street successfully once they're there. That's I think the takeaway for me. And this is an enormous undertaking. I very much appreciate the work you and your staff have done, and that Brian and the DCR, our staff and all those who are operationally in this field, because the plaudits aren't very many, the complaints are a lot, and the thanks are often too little. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Vang.
Mayor, I'll just keep it short. You just want to thank Farishta. I think the only question I have is really next steps on the recommendation. And I think that's important because I know this is a motion on the table to approve this audit, but I think the report back is going to be critical because there are several recommendations from this audit, and just wanted to know what the timeline is. Several findings, several outcomes from the audit, and what we need to be doing as a city. And so just wanted to know what the timeline is on that.
So our office, once an audit is approved, do follow up every 6 months on all open recommendations. And we do have a report that we report out to the city council on the status of all open recommendations. So we follow them until they're implemented or dropped for whatever reason. But if there is additional reporting for the specific audit that you guys would like, I think that would be more DCR.
And I will add to that. So we agreed with all the recommendations. Most of them, because these audits take time, as the audit is going on, we are also changing programs and processes. So we're kind of one and the same. So most of these should be not a big lift for us to accomplish within the year. There's nothing that is outside of something we aren't already working on.
Thank you. That was a good question. I was going to get to that as well, Councilmember Vang. But first, I wanted to thank you and your team for working on this. I know the first day I became mayor, I came and met with you and told you I wanted to ask that the audit department, you conducted an audit, and so it was very thorough. It took a while, but we had a lot of work in the hopper as far as other important audits, but there is no issue that we hear about more and that constituents ask me about. So literally when I was running for mayor, I made 2 campaign promises, and this was one, to do an audit of our homeless programs. And as I said then, as I'll say now, I think most people trust that we're doing the right thing in government, but there are a few that saying, where is that money going? Is it being, shifted off, illegally spent? Is there something nefarious happening with our homeless money? And so what I wanted to do is to just lay out where all of our money goes and all of our programs, and try to see to some extent how, if we can compare apples to apples, how much programs cost per bed, per person, which programs have services, which ones have better results than others, and focusing on how we can serve more people with, as many people said here tonight, sometimes fewer resources. We're getting stretched at all levels of government. The state, the federal, and even our local resources are stretched. And so we're essentially doing more with less, and it's a miracle that for 2 pit counts in a row, the number of unsheltered homeless has gone down. But certainly we're not done. You walk outside the street today and you see too many people out there languishing in our communities, including right outside of City Hall. So this was, a piece of the puzzle to look at it. And I want to ask our DCR department to do more. Just wait right there, Brian. Is to focus on not just you reporting back, but this is an audit bigger than, in my opinion, anything else. So I would like you to do a report to the city council on these pieces and talk about your analysis. And the big picture is, I think, that what you outlined is what the interim audit from the department had already found. And many of these issues we already identified, and we made needed reforms and, you know, renegotiated contracts and partnered more with the county and services and so forth, so we could essentially do more and serve more people. So, you know, I think we are in the right direction. And I think the big picture is, I think about the outcomes. And I know this is a hard thing to say, but is it the city of Sacramento's job? And I heard earlier, Councilmember Kaplan, that maybe cities shouldn't be in this homeless. Yeah, I talk to 13 mayors on a regular basis, and we all say the same thing. We wish we weren't in the homelessness business. We wish we were focusing on senior programs and parks and police and fire, the basics. But this lays in our lap. And so the question we ask ourselves, is it the city's job to essentially fix people that are many times broken with behavioral health and addiction, all these other issues? Is that our job to be the fixer of all this, or to help triage and get unsheltered people out of our parks, out of our neighborhoods, to somewhere better, where we can hopefully link them with services, mainly non-city and county services, to help them graduate somewhere else? And so I think if you're solely judged on the score as their success record, we're not always going to have an amazing batting average in essence, because our main goal is to get people in a safer place than they are today, whether it's, you know, a shelter program, congregate, a motel program, a tiny home, safe camping, safe parking, transitional youth programs. Certainly they run the gamut. They're very, very different. But you know, this work is not easy, but our work continues, and proud of the city council and our city manager and our city staff for coming up with the policy to cite new programs across the city, because but for that, we wouldn't be able to reduce unsheltered homelessness. I think it's a miracle. Last year, our unsheltered homelessness went down the city by about 590 people. Last year, you know how many beds that we opened because of our city policy with citing? About 500 new beds. And so it shows that our work, while not perfect, while we still see the impacts, we are headed in the right direction. And this gives us a guiding light as far as what we need to keep on doing. So thank you, City Auditor, and thank you, our Department of Community Response, for implementing these items today and for the past year and a half to address this key issue. So thank you. This was a informational item.
You need a
We do have
motion.
a motion to approve and adopt the audit findings, and so we have a motion and a second.
So that was by Councilmember Dickinson, a second by Talamontes. Thank you.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Looks like Councilmember Pluckybaum absent, so that motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
So Mayor, we now move to council ideas, comments, and questions. Due to the time, I think we can postpone that till 5.
Yes.
I have public comments matters on the agenda. I have 5 speakers: Lambert, Miguel Lucero, Michael Melton, Eric Clark, and then Jamie Garrick.
Okay. When I was here earlier, I'm going to prove something here now, because you have a problem, and I'm talking to the city attorney. You should pay attention. There's a problem here. When I was here earlier, and shout out to Minty Cuppy on what happened during that moment, as I left, there were family and friends waiting for me, because something very positive has happened with the cheesecake business in the South. Southern California, I shouldn't say the South. Somebody might think I'm talking about the Deep South. Southern California. And as I left, is that this?
Please continue. I don't believe so.
Anyway.
We ask our PD person to go check it out. Thank you.
Let me just left.
Do I continue or?
Mr. Lampert, please continue.
All right. As I left here, this was earlier today, I left after I spoke on consent calendar and I went outside and some family members and friends were waiting for me because we were going to go celebrate. And guess who I saw outside in the courtyard? I saw Mr. Pluckybomb out there during this, and all of you were here, and he was being interviewed. That's a dereliction of duty on display. You are not, as much money as District 4 gets on the consent calendar, it's at least 8 funding sources coming into District 4. And I'm all for District 4 getting cleaned up because I'm a native. Downtown looks terrible. But that can be confirmed, and the city attorney should be into that. That's a dereliction of duty. He should not be outside getting interviewed when all of you are sitting here. You should be outraged by that. And I just happened to see it because the millennials pointed it out. I said, forget him, let's go to lunch.
Miguel Lucero, then Michael Melton.
Wow.
Is Miguel still here? I don't see movement. Michael Melton. Following Michael is Eric Clark, and then Jamie Garrick. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Melton. I've been here a bunch of times. Today I'm here to complain about a few things. Like with the shelters should have a licensed counselor at every shelter, and that would help to get the disability papers pushed through that HMIS need, that the SHRA needs. They need some kind of a counselor in there that is a licensed counselor that can help the people that are in there. It's like 60 Days In. If you guys ever watched 60 Days In, like I was in there and I seen the things that they were missing. And like today, I got an apartment today, but because I didn't get all my paperwork through HMIS and different therapies or stuff like that, they try to say you got to play crazy or something like that to get your apartment, although you could be everything fit for your homeless. But if you're not disabled, if you don't get a Social Security check, or they try to send you to counselors and stuff like that, if you don't pass with the counselors, then you're not going to get any help. So we need something to change about that too, where it's like a Ponzi scheme or something, like you got to be fake crazy to get housing or some help like that, but they should have in the shelters some way to have counselors in there to help people with mental disabilities to pass the paperwork along, because Sacramento Steps Forward needs disability papers and things like that. So we had Sacramento Steps Forward in here earlier. We had the SF and we had SHRA. We got DCF or whatever. So if we want to, and I also think of this, we need a federal audit, because if we're bringing up how I've been thinking you're corrupt, and we're doing this now, and bringing it to the page, and then I'm here for it just to hear you say that I've been saying you're corrupt. We need to get the audit.
Thank you for your comments. Your time's complete. Eric Clark, then Jamie Garrick.
Hello, my name is Eric Clark. I am a resident in District 2, and I am a landlord and business owner there also. I'm coming here to complain. The homelessness, they are ravaging our neighborhood, okay? The Del Paso Boulevard, specifically above the 1500 to 2300 block. Councilmember Dickinson, I'm really directing this at you also. it looks like Night of the Living Dead out there at nighttime. We have people, I have families that live in my property. I have a 12-year-old, and people are taking naps in front of our house, defecating on the street. The Sacramento Youth Center, which should be where our youth are able to have a safe place, that's a gathering place for people to camp out every night. And I do not see the outreach from the city, and we're frustrated as residents. I'm frustrated it's becoming unsafe. I can really not even market my property when it's vacant as a safe place, because if any of you come and look at that boulevard during the nighttime, it looks terrible. We have burned down buildings on Del Paso Boulevard. It looks like the Bronx in the late 70s, okay? And something needs to give. I understand that you guys have done the audit, but I don't see the outreach. And it's becoming a place where it's undesirable. And I think that, that's, you guys are a little bit out of touch. And I am the one that's cleaning up every morning. I'm asking people if they can please move. I'm actually giving homeless people money if they could please, hey, if you can just please just move and keep it moving. And so this is a plea for help in this area.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Jamie Garrick. Jamie is our final speaker this afternoon.
Good evening. This is a quick comment related to the shelter audit. My name is Jamie Garrick, Chief Program Officer with the Sacramento LGBT Community Center. I want to highlight the critical life-saving work the center does in partnership with the city to shelter unhoused, transitional-aged LGBTQ+ youth ages 18 to 24. Sheltering transitional-age youth now helps to prevent adult homelessness later. Thank you to the city for your continued partnership and support.
Mayor, you have no more business to come before the City Council?
Okay. We will adjourn and recess for
10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to adjourn our 2 p.m. meeting. Our 5 p.m. meeting will start in approximately 10 minutes. Thank you.